Hello and welcome to the Everyday Board Game Podcast with your host Daniel.
And Daniel.
And Daniel, talk about a blast from the past today. Here we go.
Oh, this is going to be fun. We've been talking about this for a little bit.
That's right.
So what people don't realize is we've been doing this this is our 6th year now. This is technically the first month of our 6th year.
Yeah.
And so after, like the Champions editions and stuff like that.
Right.
But this is the one we're going to start doing like our monthly pile on. And we decided we were going to go over something we've done way back in the time, during the time of lockdown, if everybody remembers that.
I know. Most people have blocked it out of their memory by now.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, we started our podcast, like, I technically started the podcast, not as a podcast, but as a Let's Play channel, right?
Yeah.
And that was a Twitch stream.
And we were talking about podcasts.
Yeah, we were talking about podcasts, so we're like, all right, let's just pull the trigger, let's do it now that we have some time.
And since we can't go anywhere.
Yeah, and Zoom was a thing, so Zoom was awesome, right? But we decided, the very first episodes, like nowadays we have, reviews, we have our Instagram channel, but we also have 4 main episode types.
Yeah.
Right? We have Top 8 Debate, Shits and Giggles, Board Game Brainstorm, Board Game Breakdown. Mm-hmm. And so these are all really great episodes. But back in the day, we really only had two kinds of episodes. And
mainly
else.
It was just this one first. Then we came up with the second one in our first year.
Yeah.
Where we could just talk about board gaming.
Yes.
So it was Chits and Giggles, and it was the Top 8 Debate. Top 8 Debate was actually what started it for us. It was the first thing we've ever uploaded. It was the first thing we ever recorded together.
That's right. And so we went back to our very first Top 8 Debate, worker placement.
Yeah. And the reason why we wanted to do that is because we streamlined what we're doing now. We came up with the G.A.M.E.R criteria.
Yep.
And through a long and tedious process of arguing with each other at that point in time, we actually came up where it is actually really good that we use it for our board game brainstorm, and we use it for our reviews.
Yep, exactly. And then we've also broken down a format where we flip our coin of doom, we pull from the cup of doom, and we get that down. Like, you see where this is going. It's a lot cleaner. And then, but not only just that, man, have these games changed.
Times have changed. Oh, and another thing we didn't do back in the day. We have to make sure we have played the games nowadays. Yes. We were picking games, and this one wasn't as bad when we were going through the video.
Right.
Because we played a lot of the games. But this one, we take the top 8 games that we have both played. There was episodes we were like, I'll have to take your word for it. I've never played that game.
Right. Exactly. Like, we eliminated anyone that neither of us had played.
Yeah.
But, like, if I played it and you hadn't, which I think at that time you might not have played Le Havre or something like that.
No, we played Le Havre because I remember playing it as 2 players with you.
Yeah. But, I mean, like, there was a number of games where there was multiple times where it's like, all right, well, this is your list.
Yeah, this is what you're doing. Yeah. You know what you're talking about. So, which is better of this?
Right.
I can't make an argument here.
We don't do that anymore. We're not no silly people that do debates.
Yeah.
Arbitrarily.
All willy-nilly, yeah.
Oh, willy-nilly. I shake my fist at you. Yeah. No, now we required that we both played it, and which actually eliminated a few from the top.
Yeah.
that wouldn't have been there, like Barrage, for example.
Barrage was another one. Kanban was another one as well that we haven't played, which would have been, and that's a big thing too. It's been 5 years since we last did this.
Yeah.
And a lot has changed. Our number 1 seed back in the day is our number 8 seed now.
Yep.
I think it's 8.
No,
5.
Number 5.
It's our number 5 seed. It was our number 1 seed back then. Because back then, we just took the top 8 of Board Game Geek. We didn't choose what they were. Or we didn't have our arbitrary rule, I guess you could say, of we have to play it. This way we can make sound arguments.
Exactly. And the biggest change, I think, is our favorite change, or at least my personal favorite change, is you don't put it into mini episodes now.
Yeah, I don't cut it down.
Because we probably lost so many viewers. Like
on YouTube side. At the time, when we did the audio, I just released the audio as is. Yeah. It was just the YouTube that I cut it to, like, honorable mentions and quarterfinals and stuff like that. Now it's just one long video. If you want to watch it, watch it. If you don't. I don't care. Listen to it on the podcast side of things.
Cool.
Or put it in the background on YouTube. And just have it going in the background, whatever you do.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best things you can do as a listener is just to download every episode we have, throw it in the background arbitrarily, and just leave.
Yeah.
You don't have to listen to our stuff. That's fine. But
for the longest time, our dogs was our favorite fans because I would just put it on our Alexa when I was leaving the house to let them have a voice in the house.
Yeah.
Most people put, like, the background music for dogs and lo-fi for dogs and stuff like that. No, I put on my podcast. This way we had downloads. Now we're actually doing relatively well for our podcast. So
we don't have to support on the fandom of your 2 dogs.
Oh, it was 3 at the time.
That's true. Yeah. I forgot about that. Oh, they still are one of our biggest fans.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They're actually mad because they're locked out of the room right now while we record.
I know. They're like, we've been your fans since the beginning. Why can't you let us behind the scenes? Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, let's get into today's episode. But before we do that, Daniel, what have you been playing?
This was a fun one for me. If you notice that I have a nice little theme over here because this episode is going to be released after May 4th. So May the 4th be with you. Mm-hmm. But my big thing about it is the games I'm not talking about have nothing to do with Star Wars. I just thought I'd mention the fact that I get into the spirit of things. So one of the most recent board game nights I wanted to do was play some horror games. And so it was a Trick or Treat studio night. And the two games I'm going to talk about here are the two games that we played that night, the two big ones. Okay. We played House of 1,000 Corpses, the first one I'm going to talk about. And I really did enjoy this one a lot. And in fact, the other game I'm going to talk about is also rated a 7 for me because I like what they both do, and they do it in different ways. And both of these are co-op horror games. But what I liked about this one specifically is the fact that at a House of 1,000 Corpses, you're not playing good guys. You are playing the bad guys just like you are in the movie. And that was the one interesting thing I really liked about that movie, is you're seeing it more from the bad guy's perspective than the final girl or the hero during most horror movies. So I thought that was really neat, Rob Zombie's House of 1,000 Corpses. It's a fun little co-op. It is interesting that you're playing the bad guys, which takes it into different areas. It has a really interesting mechanism and feel to it too, because you're searching for victims, and it's like, oh, I can just outright take care of this person without mentioning things that could get us in trouble on YouTube and other places. Of course. Or you could take him to a doctor for he can experiment. That's all we got to talk about is the experimentation that he does.
Yeah, I mean, it's for medical purposes.
Yeah, you're trying to get a certain amount of points before the end of the round and stuff like that. It's kind of hard to describe what this game is about without, being more. We're not monetized on YouTube. I'm not worried about that. It's more the podcast, and we're a family-friendly show.
We want to be.
This is nice. Rated 17+. This is basically a rated R board game for that reason, because of what it's talking about. But it's good. I really did enjoy it. I love the fact that you're searching, and then if you find them, they're trying to run away because that feels very thematic. Oh God, they found me. Let me run. I love the fact that the sheriff's in there, and he's kind of a buffoon, but he's also doing a good job because he is rescuing people, and he's just not sure what's going on in this house of horrors. So it's fun. I love the asymmetrical powers that each different character gives you. There is a lot of characters just outright in this game. I have the one where it gave me the minis. You don't need it. The standees are perfectly fine. It is a fantastic game. The artwork is fun and a little bit grotesque at times, especially your rewards that you get. If you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
But it is a fun game. I did enjoy it a lot. I liked what it did. It was an interesting take on a co-op because there's not a lot of games where, other than one versus many, where you're playing the bad guy. This one you're playing as a group of bad guys working together, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed this one as well. Good fun. I just remembered right at the end, it just kind of whimpered.
Yeah,
that was my only real complaint. I enjoyed myself during the game,
and it's the same Mike's same complaint too. It's just kind of
yeah.
We knew we couldn't win. We wanted to play it out, but there was no way we could mathematically get what we needed done.
Yeah, it was impossible at one point where well, okay. I mean, I guess we'll play it out, but
I can't go here. I can go here.
I can go play a different game right now. But that was the only thing that was
that was my only gripe. It kind of whimpered out, but all in all, it was really fun.
Speaking of our game night picks, the one I wanted to talk about was one that I picked on my most recent game night, and probably both of our game of the night. It's a Euro game, a very bland Euro game.
Oh wow, you're picking this one, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought your other one was the pick of the night, the 2-player.
The 2-player was really good.
I did. It
was really good.
That was 1A, 1B.
We're talking about Compile.
Compile, yeah.
Compile
that was
one.
1A, 1B for me. Those were really good games.
But the one I wanted to talk about, because I'm surprised our friend Dom did not enjoy
like it as much as we did.
Yeah, you and I really enjoyed it. This is a game called Obsession. And this is Pride and Prejudice, the board game.
Pride and Prejudice, Downtown Abbey, any of those Victorian era to the 1900s type of thing.
Exactly. You were all
talk
families.
About a dry, dusty Euro, because that's literally what it's about.
Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, instead of just tans and beiges, it's more like pastels and
black and white photo.
Sepia tone. It was something.
Yeah.
But
This is your prettiest, ugliest game.
The prettiest, ugliest game. I don't know how to take that, but I don't disagree with it either. No, Obsession is cool because like it's you have a number of different workers. You have a lot of different cards that you're going to be hosting activities in, or upgrading, or buying new rooms, or expanding your manor, or trying to get a lot of your cards, these socialites, these fancy people, the gentry, played out of your hand. The more that they come out, the more money you'll potentially get, the more reputation you'll gain, the more all sorts of different abilities you will get. And you're building this engine. It's kind of like a tableau game, but your tableau changes every turn, right? And one thing I liked about it that they did pretty well, most of the characters seemed pretty similar. Except there was some instances where, like, I would draw a card, and this, like, one lady, I could play her, right? Mm-hmm. And you would gain 800 pounds by playing her, but lose 3 reputation.
Yep.
It's like, and we all just looked at each other like, we don't need to know what she's doing, but she's slanderous.
That is not a hotel what you're running over there.
Exactly. We had all of these conversations that really led to just some fun theme.
Yeah.
It's like, well, look at this guy. He's only getting me $1. Like, whatever, He's cool, I guess, but he doesn't need
I had my own family party. It is like, oh, we have all these guests over here, but this is all just a family right here. It's like,
they're just hanging out in the other room playing Nintendo or something.
Yeah,
so why are they even here? No, I was thoroughly impressed with it, and I started looking more into it, and that this designer, Dan Holloman or something like that, this is his only game.
Yeah.
At all.
And I think it's self-published, too. I don't think he has a big publisher behind him.
No.
It's really good, and it's well supported.
Yeah, and the fact that... So, we hear about, like small-time games from time to time, or, like one-off publishers and stuff, but we don't normally hear about press, like, being pushed this hard, and a lot of people have talked about Obsession.
And, like, big reviewers and stuff like that, like, big channels mentioned the Dice Tower. I think it's one of their reviewers' favorite games, so...
Yeah, it was really impressive, like, genuinely.
I think it's, if not it's near the top 100, too.
It's in the top 100. Yeah, it's like number 50.
Yeah, for a self-published game, in a sense. One-time designer and stuff like that. It's fantastic. It hit really well. At least it was not the lightsaber.
I'll give you that.
But I agree with you. This was a fantastic game. Yeah. So much so, like, if I find it in the wild, I might pick me up a copy. I really did enjoy it.
I do know it's expensive, but I did spend a good hour digging through all the expansions, because I also had those as well.
Yeah.
Putting them all in one box, because that's what I do. And it almost fit. Almost.
Guess what my wife found in the wild? She found Shadows over Camelot in the wild.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you want to talk about expensive.
Ooh, I'm sure.
That was a consignment one. That was expensive.
Yeah.
It was $125.
Yep, that sounds about right.
That sounds about right. I was like, I like that game. I want that game. I don't want it that bad.
Yeah. I just paid almost that for a game recently.
Well, yeah, but
that one has 800 cards and like 900 sleeves and like, just some crazy amount.
I have no problem spending that kind of money for a board game. It's just, I have to really, really want it. Like something like Gloomhaven. I get the price of Gloomhaven because everything comes in that. I have no problem willing in paying that price. I don't know about the new price, but I get it, but I don't know if I'm willing to pay $200 for it now?
Yeah, something like that.
But I agree with you though. Obsession. I would pay $125 for that one.
Oh, easily.
I like that game a lot.
It was really impressive. So, Obsession, that's the first one I've been playing.
All right, and the last one I'm going to talk about, going on the horror theme that we were doing that night. The other one I played was the one that you were able to show me. I do own the game. It used to be back there, but I had to switch it up because, it's May the 4th. Well, 5th, but that's beside the point. This was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the board game. Not to be mistaken with the Funko version, the Slaughterhouse or something
Slaughterhouse Family, something like that.
This was another fun horror co-op. This was like almost semi-co-op in a sense because it's like you didn't have to survive.
No, it's fully co-op.
You didn't have to survive, but we could still win. It's not one of those co-ops where we all have to live.
Right.
I like that aspect of it.
Right.
Because it's not like I don't have to be fast or I don't have to outrun Leatherface. I just have to outrun you kind of situation.
And the best part about it is the fact that it's like there's not player elimination either.
Yeah.
Right?
You come in with
your character dies, you get a new character.
Yeah.
Too many characters die, then you lose as a group.
Mm-hmm. But I do like that fact. I also like the fact that me and Dom, had the characters that really worked well together because we had the special rule where we had to finish our personal goals for us to get it considered a win. And so that was really fun because it's like, oh, I got to go here. Well, I got to run that way. Hey, Nam, why don't you join me because you have to follow me, and then I'll follow you to your location. And this way, we hit the goal because he had to follow me to, I think it was like the junkyard, and I had to follow him to the garage. Yep. So it's like you and me get to run together, and you're like, oh, thanks, guys. Yeah. I'm over here by myself.
Thanks, y'all.
I also like the fact that as you're running through the area, you're putting more cubes into the bag pulling, and which could put more bad stuff in there, but you need to put those in there because you need the good stuff out of there, the gas cans, you need the keys and stuff like that when you find them. But you're also putting the things that wake up the family members to come hunting you, because the only one that starts the game is Leatherface, and as you're going, more family members are showing up, like Grandpa and the hitchhiker and all these different people. So I loved every aspect of it. I liked what it does. It's another well-produced game from Trick or Treat, and I'm becoming more and more a fan of the Trick or Treat lines because I love horror games and I love horror movies, and I like how they got a bunch of tie-ins to that sort of. But they've also done really well with the other games that they're doing, the classic lines. Their Gold West looks really good. I have Scoville, which is much better than the Tasty Minstrel version because I can see things.
No offense. Rest in peace. They did what they could,
but I can see things in this one. Yeah. They went out of their way to make sure people were it was colorblind friendly. Yeah. And they do this with their horror games too. I loved Halloween so much so I picked up Halloween 2, even though it's basically the same game. It's just based on the other movie because I like that. I also have Chucky, which is fine. It's probably the weakest one out of the group because it really doesn't tie into the Chucky movies in a sense. Like you could have put any theme on that, but this one really made you feel like you're playing Slaughterhouse or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
Plus, that bag is just cool. Yeah, it really is. And I love the different ways. Like, if you die, you have a really cool way of dying. It's like, oh, you turned into
turned into sausage.
Yeah, you were made into the chili that was given to the roadside restaurant or whatnot. Yep. That is really cool. And then House of a Thousand Corpses is very thematic. So they're taking these really cool Euro themes, putting really cool actual themes on it. Euro mechanisms with horror themes that actually come through the game. They're doing a heck of a job at Trick or Treat.
Yep, yeah, they are. And last game I want to talk about, speaking of dry, dusty Euros, this is absolutely not. I played Worms the board game, which I am a huge fan of Worms. I've always been. Growing up, Worms was one of my favorite party games. Like, it's absolutely hilarious. So I bought the Worms board game, and I played it with my Friday group, and it was 3 of us. And I was like, okay, I wonder how accurate it's going to be, because the video game was really silly. One of the 3 players had never played Worms, any of the games before, but 2 of us had. So I was like, okay, I'll take the first turn.
Well, I can name which 2 have played the video games.
Yeah, you really good. Me being one of them, yeah. And the very first turn...
Our resident video game nerd.
Yes, exactly.
Is the other one.
Yep, exactly. So what was great about the game, right? So you choose a target. If you have to roll for accuracy, because sometimes wind will determine accuracy on it, you roll a number of dice and you choose one of the dice faces. If you hit the pinpoint target, it stays on the space that you're targeting. If you roll a number, then it goes in that direction. Or if you roll a wind direction, it goes in that direction as well. So that odds are stacked against it, or stacked for it. So like, let's say I have something like a bazooka with an accuracy of 4. Mm-hmm. I could put that up to 4 spaces away. That's fine, or even more than that. But that every space after the adjacent one, it's 1 fewer dice you roll. So it's a little more beholden to chaos, right? Because the wind might be a little stronger. They've simplified it. There's no HP. There's nothing simple like that. But when you damage a worm, you lay them on their side. If you damage them again, they're dead, right? And what happens is at the end of the game, when one player is eliminated, you play 1 more round, and whoever has the most worms on the board wins. Very simple, right? Yeah. My very first turn, which was the first turn in the game, I hit an oil barrel with a bazooka, which tripped a mine, which killed 3 worms and lit half of the board on fire.
Sounds about like the
video game. In one turn, yes. And we all just like paused for a minute as everything started like blowing up in cascade. And we're just like, okay, yeah, this is pretty good. This is pretty silly. And the player who had never played Worms before was like, what is even going on? And we were both just like, no, this is about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
once you said it started cascading and everything started blowing up, we lost half the map. I'm like, yeah, that sounds like Worms.
Yep, exactly. And like one of the funny thing is, right, like you can jump with your worm, and if you choose to jump, it means you move 2 spaces, which is great. You move far. But then you have to roll a die and there is a chance that you might roll, like, have to move because you slide or whatever. And so the only person who ever attempted it was the non-player, the one who hadn't played Worms before.
Yeah.
She landed, rolled a die, and just fell into the water immediately. I was like, so I died? I was like, yeah. That
sounds about right, too.
She was like, that sounds ridiculous. I'm like, it is. It happens.
Yeah.
And what's even better is you can do that with, like, the ninja rope, too. You can move up to, like, 4 spaces with, like... But then there's a chance you have to land in, like, weird ways. You can... If you get a upgrade kit, like one of the crates...
Yeah.
Then you get to draw, like, one of those random cards. So you have, like, the old lady who wanders around and murmurs to herself until she eventually blows up. Or the sheep that fly... I did a cluster bomb, which like immediately flew off the side and just didn't do anything, but it's like, oh, blast this area, then blast this area, then blast this area. It was fun, and I like how they did it. Like, because one of the best things about it is they have, I'm sure there's a hell of a bomb. Yeah, I'm sure, a hallelujah bomb. Holy hand grenade. Yeah, probably. Hey, Masmo, by the way. No, it had some funny, just amazing stuff, and it was so true to the game, and it was simplified in a way where it was such a fun experience that was probably my game of that night, and we played a bunch of different styles of games, but just blowing crap up was with dice.
It basically reminded you of the video game you loved growing up.
It did, yeah, it really did, and it was just one of those fantastic moments. And another thing I like about it is that you have these supply drops that you draw at the end of every turn. Mm-hmm. Well, the game sets up with you put 2 supply drops. You have a sudden death card, 2 supply drops, and then 2 per player. So we played a 3-player game, so that was 9 turns before it was sudden death, and then it would just do the sudden death card again and again and again, which would definitely speed stuff up. Yeah. So you played Worms, the original video game, right?
Yeah, long time ago.
Yeah. All those shenanigans are present. They did a great job. The Worms figures look great. You know, they're great models, hilarious pieces, and you seed the board. I gotta say this: you seed the board, and you can every hex can only hold 3 things. That's it. A worm, or any worm counts as a thing. Any crate counts as a thing. A mine, an oil drum, all those kind of things, and craters counts as things. If you ever get 3 craters, it's just a water pit at that point. It's just it's gone. But that you can only have those majorities. So if you jump in one, you can prod something else out, right? Which is absolutely hilarious. Our friend Jim won with a baseball bat by knocking our friend. Like, I got eliminated, and he home runned her right out into the middle of the field. It was so good. It was just one of the funniest experiences, and I like how, like, the limit of things. Mm-hmm. You take turns at the beginning of the game putting out all of these things, and then you randomly find out who is which team. So you don't place out your worms anywhere strategically. No, you just put out worms, and one of them will be yours.
And then you find out which one.
Then you find out which 4 are yours. So it has, like, a good little setup, like it's not overly unstrategic, but just, like, balanced in a way, because you have to do that, because it's like, oh man, this one's in a crap position. Oh, I'm that team. Oh well. You know, absolute riot. I can't recommend it enough. Worms, the board game. Alright, so let's get into today's episode today. We have a top 8 debate.
Yep.
For worker placement games. Now, I hear you saying, but wait, Daniel. You've already done a top 8 debate worker placement games. As we said at the top of the episode, yes, we have, and we're still going to do it anyway, because that was over 5 years ago.
Things have changed in the Board Game Geek, and as well as we have changed how we do things nowadays. That's
right. So we thought, we can't let that piece of garbage original episode, actually it was one of our first send-offs.
Yep.
But we can't let that thing sit there. We gotta check it again. And maybe in another, like, 5 or 6 years, we'll do another one.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. I don't know. We're not going to promise that far ahead. But let's find out with today's episode. First, before we get into the honorable mentions, let's talk about what our seeds are.
One sec. Board Game Geek defines worker placement as a stylized form of action drafting. Players place tokens, typically the classic person-shaped meeple, to trigger an action from a set of actions available to all players, generally one at a time in turn order.
Yeah, one of the big things about worker placement is that the place that you tend to go more or less will block other players from taking that action.
Yeah.
There's some exceptions in a lot of these games. You'll see exceptions for that, but that's a big factor in that.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So we're going to first start off with our number 1 seed, Dune Imperium.
Going up against our 8 seed, Anachrony.
Our number 2 seed, Feast for Odin.
Going up against our 7 seed, Caverna, the Cave Farmers.
Our number 3 seed, The Lost Ruins of Arnak.
Going up against our number 6 seed, Underwater Cities.
And finally, our number 4 seed, Everdell.
Versus our number 5 seed, Viticulture Essential Edition. And so going back to our original debate here, we were looking through our past list, and the games that only stayed in is Viticulture, which was our number 1 seed at the time.
Yep.
Underwater Cities was also on that list, as well as Caverna.
Yeah.
You want to tell the games that are missing out now?
Sure. We have Raiders of the North Sea, Architects of the West Kingdom, Le Havre, Champions of Midgard, and Lords of Waterdeep.
So there has been some movement in the top 8, plus now the fact that we forced each other to actually make sure we both play the game.
Right.
And things are going to change, and we've also put honorable mentions for you to suggest over on our Board Game Revolution poll, and there's a lot, so let's run through this real quick. You want to do ours or you want to do theirs?
Let's do ours first.
Okay.
Here we go. We're always going to flip our coin of doom, as we said before. Let's start off with...
That's me.
Is that?
I thought that was always me, but okay, if you want to make that head.
Sure, whatever. I don't know which one. Why am I flipping the Return to Dark Tower coin? Let's do this one. I like this one better. All right, that'll be me. See, I like this one better.
Okay.
My number 1 was an honorable mention that we'll be seeing here in a minute. This is like the worker placement game, like one of the very first. I absolutely love these games. And the remake was just a few years ago. 1303, and it had a blueprint cover. Beautiful art. Love it. This is Kalis.
Also got riffed on because of having one of the worst art styles.
Yeah, the original had one of the worst covers of all time. Yeah. It was pretty wild. But yeah, I love Kalis. It's so cool how the worker placement works, and it's really a valuable worker placement because you get standard stuff like converting one resource into another, or changing actions, or donating, or building the castle, or building the church, or whatever it is. I think it's castle, but it's on this long train, and each of those buildings that get built, they might belong to certain people, and you get a benefit if I build using yours, which is awesome. But they also activate an order. But because that means that anything behind the provost doesn't activate. So you have this cool control mechanism of whether it can work or whether it will activate or not. Yeah. Just because you make a building doesn't mean that somebody's going to go there, and it doesn't mean that it's going to trigger. And it's absolutely wild how that works. If you really know what you're doing, you can really affect the outcome of the game in a really neat way. I like it a lot. Kalis. The original one is higher up on here, but Kalis 1303 is my personal favorite version of that.
It's much more streamlined, in all honesty, from what I understand. I've only played 1303, but I have read the reviews and stuff like that of the original Kalis, and it just seems like 1303 is just much... And Andrew Bosley art does help that one a lot, too.
And I'm glad they kept the Provost in the new one, which is... That was a very key moment.
All right, so my first honorable mention is one that I've fallen in love with. It's in my top 100. I do enjoy the mess out of this game, and it's it's not by one of my favorite designers, but it is one of my favorite thematic themes, and it's Fallout. This is Fallout Shelter, the board game. I like everything about this game. You can see it right over there, up there, right there, sitting on top of Frosthaven. It is a fantastic little worker placement game. Actually, quite small too.
Yeah.
Comparative to some of the other games that aren't going to be on this list, and you're basically building a shelter, and everybody has control of a certain floor, and you get a reward, as you were saying in Kalis, if someone goes to your specific area of the vault to use your special abilities. You're trying to be the first one to completely build your shelter all the way up. So I think it's 6, 3 on one side and 3 on the other. But you got to be careful because threats are coming in and attacking you. It could be rad roaches or just blackouts. So I love that aspect. I love the little transparent cards that you put over to basically say that there's a threat in this room, therefore it's locked out. But you can go fight that threat, and you better hope you're successful, or else your guy is injured, and you have to waste a turn fixing that guy.
Yep.
I like the fact that you can also go train your specific characters. During the game, they work as just basic workers, but if you train them, then they get a special power in a certain thing, and so you get better chances of maybe fighting something, or getting more resources if you have a specialized trained character in there.
Yeah.
I do like it. It's one of those that it plays well. Sometimes it may overstay its welcome, just depending on how the game lands. But I really do enjoy this game. My only gripe about this game, it comes in a tin. That's it.
Yeah.
I have to find different random spots to put that, because I can't put games on top of it or near it, because I'm afraid the tin's going to dent.
But
I get why they did it, because it looks like a lunchbox.
It's one of the few that you can almost justify.
Yeah.
You know, just because of the fact that
it looks like a 1950s lunchbox, which is the theme of Fallout in general. Is it has that 1950s feel to it.
Right. Now, we didn't watch our honorable mentions, but I would imagine this was probably on it. This is a 2-player only worker placement game. And your workers not only get you the ability, but where they cross also determines an extra action.
I'm not surprised it's on your list.
Yeah, I'm not either. As soon as I saw it on the list, yep, Masmo knows what it is. Targi. I love this game. It's so
fantastic
cool
one.
how it works. And the worker placement spots, like the border doesn't change, but the spots in between, that third action that you get to take, I get whatever I place it here, I get whatever I place it here, and whatever it intersects, boom, I get to take that action. I love that mechanism. It's so cool. If you place a worker down, not only can I not go to that spot, I can't go to the opposite end of that row or column. That's awesome. And then there's like the robber or something, the extra piece that moves around the board. You can't go across from them either.
Yep.
Or no, you can go across from them. You just can't go on their same spot. Either way, it's super neat how it works. It's a fun little back and forth. It works really well. The board is a nice big 5x5 grid, yet somehow still feels incredibly tight. I like it a lot. Targi, 2-player, fantastic worker placement if you want a good one.
All right, the next one I'm going to talk about, I'm going to talk about an old one now. This one is about 2012, I think it's when it came out.
That is old. For worker placement, that definitely is.
This still stands out pretty well, and it's a favorite for a lot of people. And I like it because you're dealing with that wheel, and this is Tzolk'in, the Mayan calendar.
Okay.
I love the fact that you're trying to make sure your character stays on there just right for when you pull them off, because you'll get more resources and stuff like that. I love the contracts that you kind of got to fulfill. I love the different things that you're doing in this game. Hey, I got to get some corn. Let me go here, and hopefully that can age just right where I get enough corn to do what I need to do over here, or pray to the gods over here. I love everything about it. I need to play it more. I really do like this one a lot. To the point, it sat on my shuffle shame for a while, and then you're finally like, well, why don't we just play it? We finally did. I was like, all right, I pulled the trigger when it was my pick. Finally played it probably within the last couple years and fell in love with it. I think it still stands the test of time. I think this is what a lot of people consider the start of the T-Series games.
Yeah.
Where Tzolk'in, Tekanyu, Teotihuacan, all those things. This one, I think, is still one of my up there. I think this and Teotihuacan are like my two favorite of the T-Series. Yeah. And this one is maybe edging more over Teotihuacan just because it doesn't overstay its welcome like Teotihuacan does. And it just, I love those wheels, the way everything ages. And I've seen, like, I'm jealous of people who, like, put some nice dry brush on them to make them look like ancient stones and stuff like that. Yeah. I'm like, I wish I could do that. No, I'm not going to do that because all the stickers and stuff that are on there. But no, it's a fantastic game. I love everything about it. It just, especially playing with those wheels and trying to make sure I jump off at the right time.
Yeah.
So, and it's one of the first ones I ever saw where you put them on, or your action is put a worker out, or pull them off to get the resources.
And the timing is so important with that, which is so cool.
And that's why this made my list, is because it is such a fantastic game.
Yeah.
And the glass skulls. The
glass skulls, such a good component. All right, my last one that I want to talk about is a worker placement, and not just a worker placement. It's like a set collection. It's a tableau builder. It's an engine builder. It's literally like everything.
It's what worker placement should be.
It's what worker placement should be. This is Argent the Consortium. Mm-hmm. This is from Level 99 Games.
And it has a follow mechanism, too.
And it has a follow mechanism, and it has extra spots where only certain people can go, and it has ways to manipulate the votes, and it has ways to check on votes and all these majorities and to have the most of certain things. It's the most involved worker placement I think I've ever played. It is wild. Mm-hmm. It works really well, and I like how just everything actually works. Like, that sounds weird. There's so many different actions, resources, and just manipulatives that you can do in this game that makes it so neat. And your workers have their own special abilities, no less.
Yeah.
So your style of worker might be like an upgraded version. It might be like have special abilities when you place it out. You might be able to upgrade your workers. You might get benefits for having certain workers.
Yeah.
There's certain spots that you go to might change. Each of those cards can come out in different patterns, different layout. It's so wild. We joke about level 99 having like the most vastly different games in the world.
Yeah.
And this is definitely like a proponent of that.
You have Argent the Consortium. We've played Bullet, which is completely different. Yes, but I agree, Masmos, that's what I was going to bring up about. It's one of those games, though, that can overstay its welcome. Especially if you have someone who's very AP prone. That was my experience the first time I played it.
Right.
Second time I played it was a little bit better because, one, I already knew what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And two, I wasn't playing with the AP player. So.
Right. Yeah, it was neat.
Yeah, so no, but it is neat. I don't disagree. I'm glad you own it. It's not something I need to get in my collection.
That's fine. I love the fact that I have it.
All right, my last game I'm going to talk about is actually a newer game. Came out relatively, I think, last year, on honesty, if I remember correctly, 2024, maybe 2023. But do you like bees? Do you like bees in space? This is Apiary.
Wow.
I do enjoy this one a lot. And it's
Such a new Cult of the New right here.
Cult of the New, but it's actually pretty highly rated too on the worker placement list. And I like what it does because it has that cool feel. I love the fact that it has the bumping mechanism where you can push someone off, but you have to be higher level than that character. And I do love the fact that you can age your bees, but after a while they're going to hibernate, and then you're going to have to do a whole action to get the new hibernations out. And the space bees,
Hey, Board Game Bard. Thanks for joining.
I really do love that. I like and it's put Connie Vogelman on the map for me. She's got 2 games out, and I've really enjoyed both games. Wormspan is fantastic, and this one is through the roof. That's the reason why it made my top 100. I really did enjoy this game. I love the bumping. I love the different areas. I love, like, hey, if you use this power, it gives you a little bit more of something.
Yeah.
But if you have to be at this power to go to this location. It has the blocking off. It has the different areas you can play.
The fact that they age, is awesome.
The aging of it, I think it's a fantastic. Apiary was my last honorable mention. I think it's a great. Stonemeyer hit the roof on this one. I'm glad they found this lovely designer because, like I said, her last 2 games hit, and I'm looking forward to what she's coming out with next.
That's right. And, of course, if you're listening to us live, by all means, we love our live chatters. So let us know your thoughts of your favorite worker placement games while we run through
the long list of worker placement honorable mentions from the people on our poll. We allow them to add their honorable mentions on Board Game Revolution.
Yes, we do.
And the vote is also very important for when we get into the actual top 8 debate. So
that's right.
Let's get into it.
Let's start into it. First, Alice said Brussels 18...
No, right above there.
Oh, Robert. Sorry. Robert said Lords of Waterdeep. My apologies.
Yes, and again, that was on our last one. And I think both of you or me are still in the same mind about Lords of Waterdeep.
Yeah,
we like it, but I
don't have a reason to play it.
This one needs Awakened Realms a treatment to it.
Sure.
Get away from the cubes, actually do something really nice with it. I think this one needs an Awakened Realms version of it.
Couldn't agree more.
And then, as you were saying, Alice added Bruxelles 1893 Belle Epoque?
Epoch.
There's an ampersand on the E.
I have one of the Brussels. I don't remember which one. I have the card game version. When we have Alice also added Raiders of Scythia.
And Raiders of the North Sea was the one that was on our original one. I have Raiders of Scythia. I like it a little bit better because it puts an expansion into the game.
Yeah.
But everybody says if you're going to get the collective, you want Raiders of the North Sea with all the expansions because that works.
Yep.
Alice also added Carson City. Now, that's one I'm not familiar with.
Carson City, I want to play that so bad.
I do too.
It looks really cool.
Yeah, it does.
Chyla, forgive me if I mispronounced your name, added Agricola.
Another one that could have made the list. In one of the comments, I mentioned that they were like, oh, you didn't put this on the top 8 debate, and I had explained the rules. And Agricola missed out. In fact, it would have been the next one up if it wasn't for our 8 seed. So.
Gotcha.
But I don't know if we would add Agricola because we have a rule. We have Converna, and whatever's highest is the one we were going to keep. That's the same reason why you don't see a lot of like North Seas.
Misery
and
Farm.
like that. Misery Farm. And then Alice also added Circadian's First Light. I have not played that one. It's a Shim Phillips game. It looks interesting.
And Alice also added Dune Imperium Uprising, which was the number two seed. I haven't played it.
We haven't played it, and however, Dune Imperium is still rated higher. If we had played both, Dune Imperium Uprising would have been kicked off. And then John added Apiary, which I just talked about.
Paul added Crystal Palace.
And Weldon added My Father's Work, which I have not played. I do want to try that one.
I really want to try it too. Matthew added Raiders of the North Sea, as we talked about was in the previous episode.
Chuck added Pillars of the Earth, which is a fantastic worker placement. You still haven't played yours yet.
Still haven't played mine. I know.
I can teach you the game.
I know you say that.
Bring it over.
I know.
Or say, hey, I want to play this one on my pick. I'll bring it out of my... It's right there.
No, I know. I know you will. I appreciate that. Lisa added the White Castle.
That is a really good game. I don't know which one I like more, Red Cathedral or White Castle.
I like Red Cathedral better.
Yeah, I like the Mondale maybe a little bit better, but I love what White Castle does. Casper added Tricarion, which is, I believe, on Kickstarter right now.
For its 20th or 10th anniversary with like everything.
It looks really nice.
I thought about playing this as my honorable mention. Dylan added Federation.
This is one I've been looking at. You don't know this one? This is the Space Council.
Yes.
I wanted to play this one.
Yes.
Barrage was added by Raphael.
Martha added Darwin's Journey.
That's on my pile of shame. I want to get that one played because it looks really good. Michael added one of your least favorite games on this list and was on our short list or on our list last time. This is Architects of the West Kingdom and is officially on the ban list because of this guy right here.
And I will die on my hill. It's an awful game. All right. Willie added Strike, the Game of Worker Rebellion.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Sounds interesting.
Ryan added Asking for Troubles. Have not played that one.
I've been wanting to try this one. I want to say I played something similar.
Hey, look, you added that.
Philippe added Argent the Consortium. Thank you for adding that.
Simon added Champions of Midgard, including the Valhalla expansion,
which I agree have to add on. I feel like that's hurt the rating because of it.
I agree. You need the Valhalla expansion for that game.
Yep, agreed. Andrea added Stone Age, which was also on my
another one classic there. This one, that one's been around over 10 years now because they just had the 2020. I think was their 10-year anniversary or something like that around that time.
No, it's pretty old.
Gerald added Vinos, which is a fine wine game. There's a better one, I think.
Bias at all. Wesley added Flamecraft. Really dope game.
I don't know if that's a worker placement, is it?
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah,
that's
true. You're going to certain areas,
Yeah, you just get a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot. It's more contract fulfillment, right?
Yeah. And then John added Galactic Cruise. Now, I have not played this one. Everybody is raving about this one right now because everybody's getting their Kickstarter.
Yeah, it's pretty cool looking. Matthew added Court of the Dead, Mourner's Call.
Hey, we can say we played that one finally.
We have, and it was dope.
It was actually really good.
I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Jesper added Paydirt. Not familiar with that one.
Robobert added Temp Worker Assassins.
And then JB added Dwellings of Elderville. Another one that I want to play. That or Andromeda's Edge. One of those two.
Eric added Dominant Species.
That one I don't want to play because that one... Is that? Ooh, interesting.
Is that?
Yeah.
I wonder if it is.
I wonder if it is. We'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
And then Mark added Dinogenics, which is fine.
Dinogenics
is all right. I'd rather play like Dinosaur Island over Dinogenics, but...
Some played it. So I'd rather play Dinogenics.
Hey, look, we just talked about this.
Yeah. Regina added Obsession.
Yes, I don't disagree. That is a fantastic game. But honestly...
Less worker placement.
It's not really worker placement, though, because the only workers you're moving is the servants, and it's just because you need to activate a certain room.
Yeah.
And then you can't activate certain rooms if those workers are resting.
I mean, if Board Game Geek calls Carcassonne a worker placement, this can be too.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. Erica added Dice Hospital. I have not played that one. I want to.
Ajit added Kalis.
Tony added Three Kingdoms Redux. I have not played that one.
Yep, and Tony also added Dogs
of War, which Masmo's in here has mentioned. Right.
So let's see what the comments were real quick. Let's say Masmo has a blast being miserable with Miserable Farm. Board Game Bard added Architects of the West Kingdom. I'm sorry. I'm not giving you the thumbs down. I am giving the game the thumbs down because I had such a terrible experience playing it. I'm sure you love it.
You're in the
minority. And I'm in the
again.
minority. Village wasn't mentioned. That's right. It wasn't. Wow.
Yeah, well, I didn't mention it either, and I own it. I have all the G.A.M.E.R Spiel winners, but I do like it. I think it's really neat. You played Village?
Yes. Well, I have My Village.
Well, we played the Village.
No, not Village. No, it's called My Village.
No,
it's like a sequel to this.
Yeah, no, we played Village, which is what he's talking about.
Yes.
Then Chuck, in the comments here, said, of the first 50 in this BGG list, On Mars is his favorite. It is the only Vita Lacerda I want to play, honestly.
Agreed.
The rest of them just look way too heavy for my liking.
Yeah, and Robert said, Lords of Waterdeep, I just love the D&D theme of it all. From recruiting adventurers and picking up quests for them to complete, to the intrigue cards to mess with other players, such a great game.
And then Alice added, I love Beyond the Sun, but it doesn't feel right to consider it a worker placement game. And I get that. It does have some worker placement aspects of it, but it has these different capabilities as well. Because you're basically, it's Tech Tree, the board game.
Yep. Yeah, it really is. John said, I really like, among the others, the bump mechanic in Apiary.
Yeah, I like that one. And Charterstone's another one that does a bump mechanic. So, Stonemeyer really likes their bump mechanics.
And Viticulture.
No, they have the Grande worker that pushes in.
Grande worker.
Mike says, I would consider Dune to be more of a deck builder with a worker placement component, more like Ark Nova or Terraforming Mars. And he has some replies in here that he thinks, Alice says, thinks Dune is right in the middle. Both are equally essential to design and depend on each other a lot. Ark Nova and Terraforming Mars are tableau builders and don't have a deck. And so they're just having that little conversation there, which I agree.
Haley said, Everdell, cute animals, artwork, a light worker engine builder, if done right, plus expansions that change up the game every time and keep coming back for more.
Raphael says, Barrage is the best game of this type overall, exciting and so satisfying when all going according to plan. And someone mentioning this is what they're going to talk about, which is right here.
Yep, Dietmar said, I find some more games on my top 10 list to carry on Darwin's Journey, not to mention Beer Pioneers, Prioribus, and Anachrony.
I don't know what these two are, but Beer Pioneer and Prioribus. Michael says, I love Architects of the West Kingdom because of the strength and ability to capture other peoples, which is the reason why you hate the game.
Scott said, Raiders of the Scythia, Fields of Arl, Predaporter, Kanban EV, and Crown Jewel, Crisis, and he went in to explain each of those. Check those out at the Board Game Revolution group.
And then my favorite comment, Chris, making me choose between my favorite children.
Yep. Regina says, I'm sorry, Masmo. I know there's a lot of hate coming from me. And again, Board Game Bard, I'm sorry. Send your hate mail to Daniel at Everyday Board Games. All right, Regina said, it's totally not. Obsession is not your typical worker placement, but it's dripping with theme.
Which it is, shockingly.
It is. And I place the workers directly on the rooms that they are used for. The stories which can come out are incredible. And tag Dan Halligan.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with him. We just talked about it when we've been playing lately, and Obsession is a fantastic game. And then Victoria, I guess I don't like worker placement games, laughing, because all the games that we just mentioned, and she doesn't like any of them, apparently.
Right. All right, so we're going to get into today's episode. Go check that real quick, because we're both curious. Anyway, so today's episode, we're going to be breaking down those. We have our gamer criteria. There's 5 criteria that we're going to be breaking them down to take our bias out of this debate. Each round, we will have 2 going up, the highest seed that's remaining to the lowest seed that's remaining. And then we will debate them as we are playing. No, different one.
Okay.
All right, so we're both curious. Sorry.
There was a name on there that was like someone that's famous on BGG, so we had to check.
We had to double check that. But anyway, so we have our 5 gamer criteria. We'll be arguing over those 5. Each of those gamer criteria have 3 sub-criteria that we explain a little bit more. And, of course, tiebreaker goes to the fan vote. Let's tell them about those criteria. Starting with G for gamer, and that is game immersion. Is the game fun to lose? Does it have player interaction, whether that's role-playing or table talk? And does it have those stand-up memorable moments, which is super awesome?
Daniel just got called out.
Memorable moments, like the moments that make you stand
so here's
up,
a memorable
really
moment
get
right
exciting. That is amazing. Board Game Bard, well done. Touche. I'm outvoted as Daniel. And this I'd like to it's not theme specific because we account for this with games that don't have theme like abstract strategies. It can still have that but the player interactivity can that's where it really brings out the theme. Yeah.
When we're talking, the next one is art and production, the A in Gamer. The art, which is subjective, but there are some that are better than others. We just talked about it at the beginning. The original K-List to the new K-List. The art is 10 times better. You have the pieces and components, and you have graphic design. We've mentioned this before. Both me and Daniel are colorblind, so that is very important for us to be able to see everything on the board.
I'm going to try not to read the comments. Meaningful choice, the M in Gamer, is impact on other players, the depth of strategy, tactics, or skills. And do arbitrary choices or AP impact the game negatively?
And that's a big one for us, because we just mentioned it earlier about our agenda consortium. The E of Gamer is ease of play, the simplicity and familiarity of the mechanism, the likelihood of it getting to the table based on the mechanism or the theme of a game, and is the game easy to learn, understand, and or teach? And this is very important because they need to be simple for new players to learn.
Yep. And finally, replay value, the R in Gamer, is the length of time and scaling well for the number of players, minimum number of plays for the full experience, and expandability, whether that is current existing expansions announced by the designer or publisher, or assumed or confirmed, along it. If there's a number on that,
like a volume 1 or
like a volume 1, volume 2 expansions, we can assume there's going to be at least one more.
And if all else fails and we can't come to a consensus on a game, that's why it's important you go vote on the Board Game Revolution group on Facebook. We put up a poll every time we do a top 8 debate, and your vote moves on to the game over.
All right. So, before we get into this, like I said, I'm going to flip the coin of doom. You're going to pull from the cup of doom. You're going to flip the cup.
I'm going to flip the cup. No, this is a nice cup.
This is a nice cup. And of course, our friends Masmo, Luminous, Board Game Bard, please, by all means, you disagree with this acronym? This will be a good discussion. Okay, I'm curious about that. Yeah, Glory to Rome OG is not the best as far as art goes. Voice your opinions in the comments. Here we go. Starting with you, Daniel.
All right, and I get Anachrony, which you're probably a little happy about, but both of these games are not your favorites.
No, I like Anachrony. I own it.
I thought it overstayed its welcome for you.
It did. But it wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad.
I liked it.
I like both of these games. I think they're both really good. And the big thing about both of these games, they drip theme on them really well. So when we were talking about our original top 8 debate, that was kind of hard because all of those were pretty much dry, dusty Euros with a little bit of theme on them. These two really drop theme. And the problem with these two is this one's going to be hard to come up with a consensus because they're both pretty close in certain styles.
Yeah.
Like the game Immersion. Both games are fun to lose. I enjoy playing both of the games. I could get why some people like Anachrony over Dune Imperium because it's all about that combat and a race to 10 points to trigger the end game kind of thing. And that can take a little long, but Anachrony is not a short game either. So when we're talking about the length of time and scaling well, both of these games are long. At a full contingent, both of these are going to play around the same amount of time.
Yeah.
1 to 2 to 3 to 4, they're basically equal when it comes to that sort of time frame. When we're also going back into game immersions, both of these have those really cool, memorable moments because you have that asymmetrical style in Dune Imperium. But then you also have that really fun time traveling, that Anachrony, that actually works really well in the game. You have that...
Very much.
Oh, God, no, I got to pay this debt I took out a loan for my future, so I need to make sure this is taken care of this way I can do the thing that I need to do. Yep. So it has that really fun stuff about it. The theme drips in both of these games. I think there's a little bit more player interaction in Dune Imperium, but not by much because it's more because of the combat system. That's about it. Honestly, I don't really feel... And then the asymmetrical powers in Dune Imperium really help on that, the player interaction aspect, because you can get into the role play. Your character plays a lot different than Dammit Dom's character is going to play. I like that aspect of it. But both of these drip theme, both of these have really fantastic art and good production value. I think it skews more to Anachrony if you have the upgraded bits. But then Dune Imperium has upgraded bits too, because both of them. But I think it's just a slightly better because it's. We talked about it with Lords of Waterdeep. Dune Imperium is all about the cubes because your army is the cubes unless you get the upgraded bits. Then you'll get like minis and soldiers and stuff like that.
Sure.
Anachrony has the thing, but you really want the upgraded for Anachrony because you want those mechs that really look cool. So it's like, the arts are both good, the pieces and components are both good. The graphic design is legible in both these games.
Yep.
Direwolf has done a fantastic job with Dune Imperium. And who was Anachrony?
Mind Clash Games.
Mind Clash.
I don't remember the designer.
Isn't it Turksy?
No, I don't think so.
I thought it was Turksy. It could be Tuskegee.
Check. Yeah,
but it's one of those. Yeah, the executes. Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, both of these are really close. Where it gets me is meaningful choice. I think Anachrony just has a little bit more of that decision space because you are impacting other people by blocking them out of certain zones. You have a lot of depth of strategy because you have you're beholden to what you draw in your hands, and the only really decision space is like what are you going to play out to put your worker out on the board and what are you going to keep in your hand to get yourself those bonuses. But I could have all basic cards in my hand during the deck building part of the game towards the middle of the game, and it's not going to do anything good for me at later in the game if I'm having basic cards in my hands, where you have to be smart about your decision space in Anachrony, because it's like, do I borrow now and then make sure I can somehow pay this back later? Or do I go balls to the wall and take everything I need right now, and all my workers are now really tired because I really pushed them to the limit? I love that aspect. But the problem with it is I think there's a lot more AP in Anachrony than there is in Dune Imperium. Because I've played both of these games with people who have that AP where they try to min-max that, and it just feels like the AP draws out a little bit more in Anachrony because of all the decision spaces you can go to. So in this category next here, I'm going to talk about ease of play. It's a push for me because both of them have very similar mechanisms, except for one bridges the where it has two major mechanisms, the deck building and the worker placement, where the other one is a straightforward worker placement. Both have a good likelihood to get to the table because of the theme. And both of them are not easy to understand, learn, or teach for that matter.
They're both pretty heavy.
So in that aspect of it, is, for me, I think I personally like Dune Imperium more, but I can see Anachrony moving on. I think both are fantastic games, and so it both really fill up there.
Yep. David Turksky, Richard Amon, and Victor Peter. Thank you, Masmo. And yeah, Exosuit for the win. I couldn't agree more. So, as far as art and production, that Exosuit, I mean, come on, it's amazing. No, actually, I mean, I've always really liked Mind Clash's graphic design. The iconography is very solid, it works really well, and it's unique enough. Like, sometimes I feel like some of the symbology in some of these games that are genericified in a way, and just like kind of made, it's like, oh, well, I'm using the same icon as like every other game would use. I feel like Anachrony does it uniquely, and I don't know that Dune Imperium does. But I'm arguing for Dune Imperium, and you brought it up earlier. One of the biggest factors in Dune Imperium is not just the fact that this is a worker placement game. It is a worker placement deck building game. And that's what really sets this one above most. It combined two mechanisms that are very different and made it in a palatable, pretty streamlined way to do it. That doesn't mean the game is simple to learn. In fact, it does have some complexities behind it. But the fact that they took these two very different mechanisms that shouldn't work together and made it work together, which we'll be having this discussion here in a few moments anyway, is awesome how it works. It's like the peanut butter and chocolate, right? Yeah. They shouldn't have worked together. It doesn't make sense. But they do. But they work really well together, you know. And so that is where this sets apart and why I think Dune Imperium is so much higher. Also on the fact that Dune is a beloved IP. A very much... It is a beloved IP, right?
It is.
I mean, I've never seen the movies. I don't know anything about the lore. But I do know that a lot of people do.
I honestly don't know if you'll like the movies. The new ones are not that bad.
I don't know.
It's just not your style of
I don't like movies, really. Yeah. But, I mean, what it comes down to is whether
and you don't
I
like
it or
books
not.
either, and it's a book series, too.
Yeah, well, I mean, books are fine. I just don't like reading.
You don't like fiction. Stop!
I have some fiction books.
Some. How often are you reading a fiction book or listening to a fiction book?
Compared to nonfiction?
Yeah.
Like maybe 1 in 10.
Exactly.
Maybe. But anyway, I digress on that, right? You know, it's I have no imagination. That's the problem. But no, Dune Imperium.
I didn't say it.
The people who like it, I get why they like it, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that they've even made a board game, the original Dune was so long ago, and then they remade Dune, and it's like, yeah, it's still good, but it still showed its age a little bit.
Yeah.
But Gale Force 9 did a good job of it, considering that. But Dune Imperium is where it really brought it to modern gamers.
And just so everybody knows, we didn't mention it. Dune Imperium is more based on the new movies than like the book series and the original movie from the 1980s.
Right. Now, compared to some of the other games that we're going to be talking about later on, I didn't like Dune Imperium that much, like personally. Just because I didn't
counting
feel...
for taste, let me tell you.
Well, I don't like area control all that much, and that you really had to do.
Have to do that.
I felt like it was just too forced into one spot for me. Like, it was fine, but there's no reason I would ever have that over other games of similar nature. So,
okay, here's one for you. Dune Imperium or the Ice Age one that we played.
Probably
Paleo America.
Probably that one. Endless Winter.
Endless Winter, okay.
Yeah, probably
I get
one.
it. For me, Endless Winter was a little more disjointed.
It was a little more
mechanisms
convoluted,
didn't blend
but I
together.
liked how you put your work around it, like fell down and then took every action.
Yeah.
That was super fun. So that was just clever, I thought. So either way.
I haven't played Uprising, but again, because Dune Imperium was higher rated than Uprising, if we played both of them, Uprising would still have been knocked off the list.
Yeah.
But I will say this. When it comes to expandability, there's 2 expansions, I think, for Dune Imperium, plus Uprising, which can be played with Dune Imperium. So
okay, Expandalone.
Cool. Expandalone, yeah.
Now, Anachrony does have a number of expansions. I don't know how many, because I know a lot of times...
Oh, yeah, 3 now. Bloodline.
Oh, yeah, Bloodline. Yep. And it was... Anachrony has a number of expansions that they included with it, but you could buy the box set, so I don't know the exact number. So, real quick... Art and production, I think, is Anachrony, personally.
Yeah, I agree. I don't disagree with you on that one.
And that's just pure base. Ease of play, I think, is actually Dune Imperium. Believe it or not.
I give you that. Because learning the freaking, whatchamacallit, the time, and then making sure you pay that back.
I think Meaningful Choice is Anachrony.
Because I don't disagree with you on that one.
Yeah, you don't have, like, the random deck.
Yeah.
You know.
Though I will say, and again, I will reiterate, Anachrony has more AP in it.
It does. Yes, most certainly. I would just say for the depths and impacting other players, that's more so, I think. And then, but as far as ease of play, that's Dune Imperium. Mm-hmm. And I think game immersion.
Both of them, I think that for me, that's a major push because both of them are fun to lose. I know you didn't care much for Dune Imperium, but I still like the fact it's there. There's more role playing slightly in because of your asymmetrical characters. You're getting this character feels like this person in the movies and stuff. But
that one spot on the turn order, like when the big disaster happens in Anachrony, is wild. That is just such a crazy thing.
Well, yes, when we're talking about AP, it is about the players too, but sometimes when there's too many choices, it's going to break people's brains, and so that can be effective of the game style rather than just AP as a player.
Right.
But that's why it's also tied to arbitrary choices, because if there's too much choice and everything's good, then that kind of thing. That's why they're tied together.
Yeah, it takes away, like, too many arbitrary choices or AP lead to less meaningful decisions.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't...
Is our reasoning.
So for me, I get what you're saying. So what are we saying? Is this a push or is it...
I think it's a push.
All right, let's go to the vote.
Which we already know, let's be real. I mean...
well, no, because Anachrony is real... Yeah, whoa, it's not that different.
All right, Dune Imperium is moving on. Yeah, it wasn't that big. There we go. All right, number 2 will be our... Feast for Odin versus Caverna.
I have choices on this one. It's our Uwe bracket here.
Our Uwe bracket, that's right. And you'll be starting us off this time.
All right, shake this up. Oh, I'm starting off again, huh?
So easy for you, Masma. Oh, okay, all right. I'm curious what your thoughts are.
So I get Feast for Odin. You're going to be arguing for Caverna. I have these mixed up just
not
slightly.
Underwater Cities, not yet.
No, the wind or the fan.
The wind?
Well, we have wind right
it
there.
was very windy yesterday.
Oh, God.
So windy it got into his room, which is multiple doors down the hall.
There's a window right there.
And swapped the placement of 2 Post-it notes.
No, it's because I had the fan on and they messed with them. But anyways, I'm talking about Feast for Odin. And I have some thoughts here. I like Feast for Odin. I think it's fine. I think I like Caverna more because it's quicker. I have some choices here. Game immersion. Both of these games are fun to lose-ish.
Sure.
They're fun to lose. I didn't hate my playing Feast for Odin. I think it's fine, and if the guys want to bring it back to the table, I have no problem with it. Yeah. There is no player interaction in Feast for Odin, and you're maybe fighting over the certain things. Like I had nothing to do with everybody else at the table. I was doing my own little thing. That's why I got my butt kicked, but I wasn't messing with anybody over there. My memorable moment of those is I didn't feed my people very well. And Uwe, all he talks about is feeding his people. No matter what game you're playing, you got to feed your people. Yep. And for me, Feast for Odin is like a combination of a lot of his games.
It is.
It is patchwork with worker placement and polyominoes and feed your people. So there's a Caverna, there's a Agricola, there's patchwork in there. There is just and then there's kill things with dice in there too for some reason.
Yeah, there's dice combat.
Yeah, that's so cool. It's really cool what it does, and the dice combat leads to some memorable moments, and I think that's great. The art and production is fine for this one. The art is straightforward. I have a little bit of issues. There was some colorblind issues for me in that game when it came to the graphic design. The pieces and components again are fine. That's what you're going to get with Euro games. So meaningful choices where I think A Feast for Odin really shines. You have a lot of choices in this one. You impact other player strategies sometimes in Feast for Odin, mainly if you're trying to go to a certain spot, but you also need to make sure you have the right amount of stuff for you to go to that certain thing. There is a lot of strategy. I like the fact that in A Feast for Odin, I can concentrate on something else while you guys are fighting the kill things with dice aspect. Yeah. And I can still have a possibility to win as long as I finish my grid and not get the negative points that comes in it. Both these games have AP. Hardcore AP, and that is a problem. And that's going to be Uwe Rosenberg game unless it's something like Bonanza. He's going to have a lot of AP in his games. Patchwork has AP in it, which is surprising. So take it with what you will. Here's my issue with Feast for Odin, and this is going to be the hard one here with when it comes to the simplicity and familiarity of the mechanism. Which mechanism are we talking about? Pick one, my guy. I mean, come on, you have worker placement in this game, you have polynomials in this game, you have gathering resource management in this game. Which one am I trying to be familiar with? But it is likelihood to get to the table because everybody described it as Uwe Rosenberg's magnus opus. And so everybody's like, all right, I'll try it just for that reason because Uwe is a very respected designer. So it is going to likely get to the thing. But it's not easy to understand and teach, so I really don't know why it's so rated so high. I'll let you talk about Caverna, but both of these games are fine.
And hey, Colt Cardboard, thanks for joining us on the chat today. By all means, voice your opinions in there. And it seems like Board Game Bard is not the biggest fan of either of these games. Judging by that comment, which is amazing. Now, so here's the thing, right? Caverna is Agricola Plus. We're not hiding that fact. We never have, we never will.
And the reason why, and we talk about it with Dune Imperium Uprising. Yeah. Caverna's rated higher, Agricola would not be on this top 8 debate. Even if it made them 8, we would have skipped it over it because you mentioned it, it's Agricola Plus.
Exactly. So Agricola was a fantastic worker placement game. It worked really well, and it felt like you were really growing as it. And one of the biggest things about that is that Caverna has a lot of that same stuff. The only big difference between Caverna and Agricola, well, is two, main. One is that it's expanded more. You're also digging in a cave. You're mining. You're filling out those. That's awesome. Well, that's more or less where you live. They have donkeys, right? And they have donkeys. But the other one is that in Agricola, it was more or less a card game. Caverna is not a card game. It's a tile game. Yeah. All of your abilities and all your stuff is going to mainly come from the tiles, which is clean. He took it and added a lot more, but at the same time took away enough where it didn't seem like that much harder. So I can see why they count these as different games, right? It's not it's not just an Agricola Plus, even though that's what I compared it to, but it's different enough where it has that flavor for both. Whereas Feast for Odin, I agree with you. There was so much going on with it, and why we didn't like the experience that much. And this is ironic enough. I like Caverna and Agricola a lot. I like Patchwork a lot, and a lot of his polyomino games I really enjoy. I didn't like these together because I felt like this is one of the reasons I don't like some of Stefan Feld's like bigger, more grandiose games. I feel like you lose track of the sight of what you're trying to do. You're trying to see what can I do for everything. I get that you're making a feast for Odin. I love the puzzle of trying to fit it onto the table. Yeah. That's great. But at the same time, are you really fighting Vikings at the same time? Are you really trying to upgrade your weapons? I know you're trying to honor Odin, but like at the same time, it doesn't feel...
It feels very disjointed.
It feels like none of them should be happening at the same time. It feels like you should pause the dinner real quick to deal with these intruders that are coming onto your lands. That's the big thing with this.
When we're talking about Civolution, when it comes to the AP, it's quicker, honestly. We played both of these games with the same group, practically.
Yep.
And so Civilization, we got done in an hour and a half, almost 2 hours.
Yep.
So we actually had time to play another game that night.
Yeah.
Feast for Odin did not play another game that night.
Although I don't disagree with Masmo. I said in Agricola cards is what makes this different every time, and the timing is so important. Yeah, it is. Nail biting, so much tension from the beginning. Caverna is static. Nothing changes from game to game. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. The only problem is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Feast for Odin is pretty much as static as anything else. There is some differences. Don't get me wrong. There's some cards, there's some differences that do change it. But yeah, I mean, you're going to have more of the same, but more convolution. As you get better at it, sure, there's more avenues to test out, and it is sandboxy.
Yep.
But Caverna is just so succinct.
Yep.
It's so clear what you can do, but while still having options. You could be a miner. You could
I did the same thing. I did the same thing.
You could raise cattle.
I did the same thing in Caverna. You guys were playing in the farm area. I was going, and then I think may he rest in peace. Our friend Lincho. He was more about going into those little experiences where he's like fighting dwarves or trolls and stuff like that. And I was all about digging in the cave. I was going for those gems, man.
Yeah,
so
more.
Everybody had their own different thing you can play, and everybody was still very competitive in this game.
Right. So
Feast for Odin, there was a point in that game where you knew for a fact you're out of it.
Yeah.
And that is a big problem for me when the games are like that. Another one, I haven't played it, but another one I hear is like that is the Splotter game, Kitchen Rush.
Sure, yeah.
Where once you know you're out of the game, you're out of the game.
Yep.
And it can happen pretty early on in the game. And that was my big thing about Feast for Odin. I knew I was out of the game about halfway through it.
And you still had to endure it to play it. Right, yeah. And so maybe just chalk it up. Food Chain Magnate, that's...
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, maybe chalk it down to a poor experience, right? Yeah. And you can take that as a wish, but I think you and I both agree.
Yeah, I think Caverna moves on. Agricola? We're not talking about Agricola.
Caverna moves on, yes. Let the controversy begin. All right, we're going to go on to our next round. And this will be... AP could also be induced if your game isn't clear-cut as what you should do and what you're still trying to figure out to work its mechanism. That's a great point, Cardboard. Yeah, really good point. And that's what we fought. Like it felt like it was an uphill battle the whole time we were playing Feast for Odin. Not that we couldn't play the game. We can play games like that. It's just nothing.
We had no
seemed
problem with
to
Civolution. Someone mentioned it earlier. We had no problem.
Civolution was way easier. All right, now we have Lost Ruins of Arnak versus Underwater Cities. And I'll be starting us off.
You got Lost Ruins of Arnak.
All right. So Lost Ruins of Arnak is the other worker placement deck building game, and arguably the better of the two, in my opinion.
The better of the three, if you're talking about Endless Winter too.
If you're including Endless Winter, ever since I played the expansion, I've actually been kind of jonesing to play Lost Ruins of Arnak a little bit more. It has some cool parts about it. It is pure worker placement because getting the workers is so important to get the resources you need to pick up the cards that you're going to be using.
Yes.
Yeah, I like it a lot, and I think it works really clean. Art and production, the pieces and components are just fantastic in Lost Ruins of Arnak.
Oh, yeah.
The little arrowheads, the little tablets, so cool.
My only gripe when it comes to that, is why I have plastic for some and cardboard for other. Give me all plastic. I mean, come on. I know it's a weird nitpick, but come on.
I know, and you docked it before for that reason.
I still dock it for that reason.
Like, it at least has some plastic. You're like, too bad. I'd rather have all cardboard. It's like, you'd rather have all cardboard.
Yes, but I give me the metal, or let me buy metal coins or some compasses and stuff. I know you can now, but I was saying when it came out, it was
you couldn't.
Don't give me a.
But still, if we compare it to what's the other game? Underwater Cities. Yeah, I mean, they use the same generic CGE discs. They use all the same pieces. The domes are cool. I'll give it that.
Those domes are dope.
But they got nothing compared. Like, and isn't Lost Ruins of Arnak a CGE game also?
Yes, but it doesn't.
Where's the discs? Where's the discs? That's what I need to know.
It's not. Oh yeah, it's the little. What is the Now or Later disc or the?
Yeah, the little candy things that are going on. Where is your pieces there? You're slacking CGE. All right. Well, anyway, game immersion. It's not the most immersive game for Lost Ruins of Arnak. It is kind of cut and dry. In fact, I remember the very first time I played it, I did play just exclusively the tech track, which, I mean, that's all my flavor, right? I like tech tracks and stuff. That was fine. And I never almost ever spent time looking around the resources and finding new places and finding monsters. And I still, I think came out on top or was pretty close.
I think that was the big issue with the original, or Lost Ruins of Arnak before the expansion and stuff like that, is that you can just concentrate on that track and win the game. Yeah. And in fact, a lot of people complain about that because it just basically negates half the board.
Right, exactly. Like, if you're focusing in the middle and, discovering things, you might be hurt by that because of random. I don't think the payoff is enough for it. That was just the base, though. Now, with the expansion, I think that it's absolutely necessary. That is a very
necessary expansion.
It's very good for what it does, and I like what it includes. But as far as that goes, that took away a lot of immersion for me, personally.
What, the expansion?
No, the
original. Oh.
Just the original, because of that. It's like when we argued Champions of Midgard, right? You know, I felt like the expansion was... Like, when I played the expansion, I realized how much it was missing.
Missing something, yeah.
But with that being said, though, as far as replay value, that's a boon for it. Because that replay value is very paramount. Ease of play, I don't think it's difficult. And in fact, I like what it does where it changes from the artifacts and the cards. The different cards, like how that timer moves with the round. And that changes the amount of cards for each type that you can do. That's a cool mechanism that I want to see more. I haven't seen that almost anywhere else. I don't even know what to call it. The worker placement part of it is fine. I do like how you have to play your cards to get to certain spots.
You either play your cards for the card power or you use the cards to get to certain spots. I like that aspect.
I like that a lot. So it's kind of a multi-use card system. And then, but sending your workers out is needed because you're getting the resources, which will let you buy more cards or deal with the track. So it's a good rounded system that I like how it does it, which I don't feel like Dune Imperium, for that example, did. Like, you don't send workers out to get the resources, to get the cards, to let you get more resources or get more worker placement.
Yeah, because you either use the cards to send your workers out and do what that does, or you play the card and you'll still get resources based on the power you're using. And
that's what I really liked about Lost Ruins of Arnak. I like that cyclical system that works really cleanly.
And Masmo, to answer your question, because of the expansion, it made just using the original track much better, where you don't have to just concentrate that, because it gave you those asymmetrical powers. So if you're playing a certain character, it actually works really well for you to be an explorer. So just based on the leader's capabilities, makes it much more where you don't need the extra tracks, but they're nice.
Yeah, the tech tracks are more like a necessity if you play without the leaders, just because if you ignore it and other people are playing it, you won't
have a good chance at it. Yeah.
So ease of play, I mean, game immersion, I'm curious to see what you say about Underwater Cities, because I don't feel that that's an immersive thing per se.
It's not very thematic in a sense, other than the domes are really cool.
Yeah.
My thing when it comes to... Well, you want to just go ahead and go into Underwater Cities?
Yeah, go ahead.
When it comes into the game immersion, it is a fun game to lose. I love the aspect of, like, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is my worker, and it's like a piece of board and stuff like that. It's not really true workers that's choosing your action. But it is really cool when you get that engine, you get that immersive, not when I'm like, okay, I'm connecting this to this to this to this now, and now I'm getting all this extra resources, and I'm stacking my little algae farm, which are the CGE little discs there, so much so that they put it in their spelling game. So there's that. What is it called? Letter Jam? So you get those in Letter Jam, the same thing you get in Underwater Cities.
The CGE discs.
It's in everything pretty much there, except for Lost Ruins of Arnak. It is
they
a
could
fun...
have done that instead of the compasses.
Yeah, that's true.
Just call them compasses.
Yeah, there you go. It would work.
No, the gold coins. What are we saying? The gold coins, clearly.
Is the game fun to lose? So, yes, Underwater Cities is fun to lose. It's one of those things, though, with this one, is when we're talking about overstays it welcomes. Underwater Cities is one of those games that will overstay its welcome. It does have some memorable moments, and it has some interesting player interaction, but it doesn't really have a lot of player interaction because I'm playing on my board. It's not really. Like I'm playing on a central board or anything like that, like Lost Ruins of Arnak does.
Yep.
We've talked about the pieces and components. No, they have the disc as well. Pulsar does have the same disc.
Yeah, they orbit around the planets, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
So the art and production, I think, is better in Lost Ruins of Arnak. The graphic design is much easier to see in Lost Ruins of Arnak.
Very clear cut.
Underwater Cities that was one of their issues back then too. Was they weren't colorblind friendly. They've gotten better over time.
Yeah.
Both have a lot of meaningful choice. I think Underwater Cities, you're not impacting other players as much because you're playing multiplayer solitaire almost. There is a little interaction, but not really. There is a lot of depth and strategy because you can change how you're playing from each game to game. So, like, if I'm doing this aspect, then maybe on the next game I'm going to try something different. It has all that really cool stuff. But this is where I get a knock for Underwater Cities. This game has a lot of AP. Even with me, and I don't get a lot of AP, it's like I kind of know what I'm going to do, but it's like, oh, but if I do this instead, or if I do this instead, and I'm thinking about my turn while everybody else is taking their turn, and I still have AP when it comes to my turn because I haven't made a decision yet, because it's like, this really makes sense, and this really makes sense. We're Lost Ruins of Arnak, where I'm just like, bing, bing, bang, boom, done, your turn. So it does have AP, and I'm not a person prone to AP. I'm ready, and by the time it gets back to my turn, it's like, boom, boom, oh, it's your turn again.
Yeah, you know it's a bad sign when one of us just starts going...
Yeah, and so that was my issue with Underwater Cities, and that's why I don't own it. I do like the game. I just never picked it up because it's just not something I need to get because it just takes too long.
Yeah.
And I think Lost Ruins of Arnak is just simpler to play, and I think Underwater Cities has one expansion, if I remember correctly, but I don't think it's nothing compared to... There's two for Lost Ruins, for sure. Yeah. So I think Lost Ruins move on, but that's just me.
Yeah, I agree. I think Lost Ruins should definitely move on. I mean, it's just... It's a cleaner game. Yeah, it's a cleaner game. It's a better system. Not to say that Underwater Cities is bad. It's just compared between the two. There's a reason Lost Ruins is getting that press right now. Yeah. And Underwater City is kind of calmed a little bit with people bragging about it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it kind of died down after a while.
Yeah, it did. But Lost Ruins is still
strong. Hitting. I mean, they just got a big box to put everything in it with a pre-order. So there's that.
Yep. And our final of the quarterfinals, or the final debate of the quarterfinals, is now Everdell versus Viticulture.
And, spoiler alert, Viticulture was our original champion of the worker placement.
Yep.
You get Viticulture.
Well, I mean, what else do I have to say? It was the original winner of 5-something years ago.
Yeah.
No, okay, so if we're talking pure worker placement... This is a worker placement game. Let's be clear on that.
And mind you, this time around, we're talking the Essential Edition because that's the only one you can really buy nowadays.
Yeah. One of the things that we used to debate before we had our gamer criteria is how well does the theme match the mechanisms, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are sending workers out to the field to farm grapes
or buy seeds or hire people to come help you.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the way the worker placement works, it's standard traditional worker placement. You send a worker out, that's where it goes. The grande worker can go into some bonus spots.
All the workers can go in the bonus spots, though. If you're blocked out, the grande worker is what allows you to go into that spot.
Right. But your workers are limited for every year. Mm-hmm. Because if you send your workers out for the first part, you can't send them out to the next part. You have to know where you're going to need it the most. And so it gives a little bit of evolution each time you play it, right? Every round that you play, each year that you're going for, you be like, well, obviously you could just have what is it called? Like an abundance of wealth, right?
Yeah.
Like get all the grapes, get all the stuff right at the beginning, but then you're not going to be able to do jack on the next one. Yeah. But you're not making wine, you just have a bunch of, like grape juice, your Welch's up in here, Yeah. That's all it boils down to. So you want to be sure that you know where you're sending your workers, but also playing into the idea of knowing when other people are playing their workers out at those times. Now,
or when to save your grande worker too.
Yep. The Essential Edition, if I'm not mistaken, has has all 4 seasons, right?
No, it's the Essential Edition just has the 1 season. It's a Tuscany expansion, a Tuscany Essential that gives you the other board.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So that I like that part about it, but I do like how it's split into 2 very clear phases.
Mm-hmm.
Viticulture is a solid game. The piece of components are really good. I like the meeples that look like little wine racks or little grape racks. You know, I remember that still this day, and it's been years since I've played it. In fact, I don't think I've played it since we've debated it last. But I remember those pieces.
Oh, I play it all the time. I haven't played it in about a year or 2, so...
Yeah, it has the half grape thing for the different wine colors and stuff.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
It's cool. I like it. And I see why a lot more people like it. And I especially understand why you like it.
Mm-hmm. It's in my top
now,
100.
Even though those pieces of components are really nice and the game is really solid, I wonder how it compares to the pieces of components in Everdell. Go for it.
This is a tough one for me because I love both of these games. As you can see on my shelf right above his head, there's the Everdell Complete Collection right there. And then you can't see it on screen, but right above his head in the corner over there is the Complete Edition of Viticulture Essential Edition.
Oh, yeah.
It's right behind Wormspan.
Oh.
But yeah, so I have the
crate. I
crate.
can't even see it.
I have the crate. I have the Everdell. I have everything for both of these games. I love these games. I will give one big gripe about Everdell. Yep. That tree is the most useless thing I have ever seen. It looks really nice.
I used to have the tree over here.
Yeah, I had to take it down before I could actually have shelf space over there.
Yeah, because it even takes up room on this shelf.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, you have a big box and you can't keep the tree up. You have to take the tree down.
Hold on. I was gonna be nice, but gotta go with this. Everdell, let me tell you what's wrong with you. All right. This is a big thing. I was arguing viticulture. I'm not normally pro viticulture on my arguments, but I'm going to tell you why viticulture moves on. Because of that darn tree. It's beautiful. It's lovely. I love how it sets up the components. Nobody can sit on that side of the table. How dare you block that side of the table?
It's got a table presence. That's about it. It will draw people over if like you're playing it at a convention. It's like, oh, what is that? It's not very functional, in all honesty. They've made it a little bit more functional by some of the stuff in the expansion stuff where you could put the cards where they're standing up and you can read them instead of having to pick up the card. What was that say? The tree is not important. In fact, one of the expansions that they gave you basically just made it a flat board, and for all the stuff that gets put on the tree gets put on that flat board.
Yep. And then when we had a discussion at Shits and Giggles talking about games that need a big box, this was on my... I don't even like Everdell that much, but this was on my list because Everdell needed a big box so you could put the darn tree in it. And they did it, but you can't put the tree in the box!
You can, it just can't be up. And that it already had the big box. You argued that was your number one.
I'm not going to dismantle part of my board every time. And Masmo, to answer your question, yeah, viticulture does outstay its welcome for me. It doesn't for Daniel. Daniel really loves the game, and I get why.
But the thing is,
you're right. I don't like how long it is.
It takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours with the group I play it with.
Yeah, it's about... I mean, given the theme, it's that... time seems longer, considering you're literally just watching grapes
grow and
grapes grow.
It's a straightforward engine builder when it comes to the worker placement game. Where you're, and I got off topic from what my thing because you got on a rant there, but the fact of the matter is you're basically building up your farm, and it kind of fits thematically that it starts going faster as you're getting further towards the end, and then when you're getting toward the end, it's like, oh, people are getting really close. I need to start pushing my engine now. So it has that aspect. But when we're going back to Everdell, pieces and components are great. I love the fact that every meeple in that game is different. Not that it really matters. It's just that if I'm playing the rats, all my things are rat shapes. If someone's playing the squirrels, all their stuff is squirrel shapes. The artwork is fantastic. You're not going to go wrong with Andrew Bosley, and that's why Stonemeyer uses Andrew Bosley a lot nowadays too, because he's fantastic at what he's doing. And Everdell really put Andrew Bosley on the map when it came to the art because it's so good. My issue with the game, and as much as I like Everdell, is that it feels disjointed at times. I can be in summer while everybody else is still in spring, depending on how I play my game. If I'm not playing efficient, or if maybe I'm playing too efficient, I'm in a whole different season now because I already know what I'm doing, bing, bang, boom. And it's most points at the end of the game. But the pieces and components are fantastic in this game.
Except for the tree.
Not going to worry about the tree. But when we're talking about like the squishy blueberries or the resin pieces and the sticks, it's fantastic what they did in this game. Again, the same reason with Lost Ruins of Arnak, I had to upgrade everything because it gave me both plastic pieces and cardboard pieces. Mind you, the cardboard pieces were just coins, so that's not too bad. Enclosed doors. I upgraded those bits, and now it's all plastic for me. The worker placement part of it is pretty straightforward. You're putting your workers out. They're going to give you resources, or you're trying to say, I'm claiming this goal because I'm the first one that meet those requirements, or you're playing cards. So it's kind of, in a sense, one of the first ones that does kind of like deck building with, but you're not really building a deck. It's more like you're playing cards out. And
it's
you're using,
a tableau. Yeah.
It's a tableau builder where you're putting your workers out to get certain cards out for you to put in your tableau that helps your engine while you're going in there. It's a 3x5 grid, I believe. You can only put 15 cards into the thing, and those give you special powers if you're going to a certain area. It gives you certain things if something happens or something triggers, or you're using it to help you score one of the in-game goals. There's a lot going on in this game. It plays quicker than Viticulture. I will agree on that. Viticulture does go a little bit long. I like everything about it. I think if anything is going to give art and production against Stonemaier, it's going to be this game, other than the tree, because that tree, even though it's really nice, is dumb.
It's just
the art is
dumb component.
I think the art is much better in Everdell. I think the pieces and components are slightly better because of the resources are much better in there. The graphic design is actually much more readable in both of these games, but the graphic design is readable really well in Everdell, unless you're sitting behind the tree. Then you're kind of screwed.
Yeah. Then it has nothing to do with the graphic design. That's PC components.
Yes. I think Viticulture has more meaningful choice. Both games are fun to lose. So, like, for me, this one's a tough one for me because I love both of these games.
Yeah.
Which is more likelihood to get to the table? Do you think making wine or QC animals?
Everdell. Yeah, QC animals always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, honestly, I'm fine calling this a push and going to the vote, but I honestly don't know. What do you think?
So, I mean, earned production, I think, is Everdell, right?
Yes.
Ease of play, I think, is actually Everdell.
I think so, too, yeah.
Yeah, because the one problem that I had with it, which is why it docks in meaningful choice, is that in Everdell, and this is the reason why I like how all the cards can theoretically pair off with a lot of other cards. There's a lot of opportunity where you'd be like, oh, I have this character, but if I also have this one, I get this massive bonus, right?
Yeah.
But the odds of getting that character are so slim. The deck is so big that, like, you can go through games and never see that character ever, which means that you've wasted that effort on something that could.
If you're trying to find the spouse or the wife or the husband or stuff like that.
But there's so many of those things where one thing will only happen if another thing is happening or could happen, then that it makes it really arbitrary. Like, honestly, like, and there was multiple times where I had to reread my tableau, and I remember it very distinctly. I had to reread it. I was like, okay, cool. So I'm going to do this. Oh, wait. No, I forgot I could do this. Okay, hold on. Now I'll do this. No, but that doesn't work this way. Anyway, and I just remembered, like...
Yeah, frustrating.
It just made it that, like, ongoing thing. It was supposed to be a clean engine builder. When you do an engine building, it's supposed to create this, does that, and now I did a bunch. Whereas, it's not that big of a deal, but that is so arbitrary sometimes.
So, I'm going to say this about...
meaningful choice, I think, is Viticulture.
I'll agree with you on that. I think replay value is going to be Everdell, and I think Everdell wins 3-2.
Yeah, there's more expansions.
There is 5 expansions. There's Pearlbrook. There's the train one. There is the mountain one, and then there is...
they have so many.
There's
and they
4.
Have, like, little
mini expansions, and then each one has like 2 modules in each of the expansions, except for Pearlbrook.
But then also it's shorter.
It's much shorter.
Yeah.
And again, you talked about how many cards just in the base game you'll ever get through. So I think
Everdell moves on.
Everdell moves on. Yeah, I get it, Masmos, but the expansion doesn't add a lot, but it adds just enough. I like playing it with Pearlbrook. I think that's a fantastic expansion.
Yep.
So our original winner has been eliminated.
Yeah, surprisingly, your favorite game. Mm-hmm. Not your favorite game, but like...
It's up there. I think, in fact, it dropped from my top 10 to like my top 80.
Right. And this is why we have to take our bias out of it, right? You know.
And that's a big reason, too, and now is that we're using our G.A.M.E.R criteria to move these on. So the bias has been taken out.
It's so different. A world apart from the original debate. Go listen to it if you want a good laugh.
Yeah.
All right, so... Go ahead and tell them how much percentage of a vote that these guys got.
All right, so the first one eliminated was Anachrony, and it has 7% of the vote. Feast for Odin also had 7% of the vote. That was eliminated in our second one. The 3-6 was Lost Ruins of Arnak versus Underwater Cities, and Underwater Cities was eliminated, and it had only 2% of the vote. Yep. And then finally, Viticulture Essential Edition had 5% of the vote when it just got eliminated. So
very good.
That is some... I'm not surprised Underwater Cities is that low because, again, we talked about it. It just kind of dropped off.
Yeah, it did. The FDI, Federal Dan Investigator. Oh, man.
Oh, God.
Am I about to lose my card again? Am I still on
Yeah, you're on the...
I'm on the fine line. Well, I'll do what I can.
All right, moving on to our semifinals where we have Dune Imperium going up against our 7-seed Caverna.
Here we go. That'll be me.
All right, you are getting...
Dune Imperium Caverna. Okay, good. Caverna, I can make a much more sound argument for Caverna. Because again, it gives you that opportunity. It's so much more open. It is more of a sandbox thing. I mean, I know we kind of described that with Feast for Odin, but like the sandbox it's more of like a coarse grit instead of a sandbox. You know, this really is like there is multiple avenues that you can go to.
And you have a good chance of winning no matter what you're doing.
You have a good chance of winning. It is very balanced. Very much so. I'll try to remember Secret Handshake. We'll see. Anyway, to represent. So, what am I even saying? Caverna. But I think Caverna honestly should move on. And
I think this is where we're going to actually disagree.
I think we will, and for good reason, right? Mm-hmm. Because there is engine building here. I like the sandboxy nature. I really do think that this does a great job of bringing out. You could just focus on farming, and it would work. You could focus on ranching and growing pigs and chickens and whatever, all the animals, and it would work. You could focus on just building up your resources or your buildings. That would work. You can mine for resources, and that also works. And there's a lot of opportunity to do all of these different options. And by the end of the game, that's where it shines. And it has that ascending worker placement style where the worker placement really comes out because there's more opportunities each and every round that come out in a random way, and I adore that mechanism. I wish more games would do that. I really like it in almost every game I've seen that does it, and it just works really cleanly. With that being said, Dune Imperium, I'll give it credit because it's Mr. Beast's favorite game. So there's that.
It is so much so he got into a tournament and won.
No, he arranged the tournament.
Did he arrange it? Because I thought it was at a...
No, he reached out to the guys who published
That's how they did the Imperium Uprising.
And was like, I would really like this to have a tournament because I really like this game and I want to play in a tournament. He didn't even want to win. No. But he ended up winning because he liked the game so much.
Yeah.
Like, so props to them.
Yeah.
But I almost wonder how high up it would be without the Beastable fans. Like, all those beasties.
It would be high. It was climbing before everybody found out he was
it's just...
Dude, it was in the top 100 before that even came out.
There was so many opportunities where Dune Imperium just felt that everything was contingent on something else. And so I can't look at the chat anymore. We got to put a window up here just for a moment. No, so the problem that I have with Dune Imperium, the big problem, and the reason why I don't like playing it really, is that
no accounting for taste. I know.
Is that so many things are contingent on other things happening. If you get a bad draw with your hands, you're out at a potentially really opportune moment. And that's a really big thing. Like, there might be a really big battle needing to be on the planet, and you need to jump in there. But if you don't get the cards to do it, you cannot play that way. And that's what... that's why... Darn it, Marky Bard. That's funny. But Caverna gives you that opportunity. You never feel constrained. You never feel restricted in that way.
You do.
So, no.
You do.
No, not necessarily.
Trust me, you do.
I mean, you'll make your argument in a minute, but I don't feel that. So between this, if we're breaking it down criteria, which we need to do in the semifinals, game immersion, I will give.
I like doing Imperium more when it comes to game immersion.
Sure,
Caverna
like
is a dry,
fun.
dusty Euro.
It is, but the game fun to lose. I don't feel that necessarily Dune Imperium is that fun to lose.
Oh, I think it's
I
fantastic.
feel it very much suffers from if you haven't caught up by like the third round, you are behind, and it would be a freaking miracle to catch up. There is some more player interaction, I'll give you that, other than just the standard worker placement. That battle, that's a thing, and that can lead to memorable moments. So game immersion, I suppose I can give to Dune Imperium. That's fine. Art and production, that is Caverna, in my opinion.
Oh.
No, hear me out. Hold on.
Oh.
No, you have Animeeples in that, sir. Animeeples. And there's a lot of fun little characters and little nuances in the art.
I remember when you gave me crap
cute.
when I brought up Animeeples.
At least it's not battling cubes. It used to be in Agricola. It used to be just discs for the wheat and stuff, and the animals used to be discs. Not in Caverna, baby. Not in Caverna. So art production
Caverna is still
goes
disc for your workers.
Yeah, but you have stickers that you can put on them, and you can.
Don't get me started on stickers. I hate stickers.
People are more round than they are cubic, sir. That's all I'm saying.
Just Americans.
That's where we live, man. In the cave farming. And meaningful choice, I do feel, is Caverna for me, just because you're not beholden to random draw pulls. You're not. The deck building is very much against the.
One sec, guys. Hold on, real quick.
No, you put that lightsaber right there. Ease of play is Caverna, and replay value, I feel, is...
Not Caverna.
Well, no, it's not just expansions. I'd have to look into the stats, but I think it's only 2 to 4 for player count.
Yeah.
For both of them.
Yeah. No, I'm not talking about
No,
that.
it's 2 to 5 for Caverna.
It's 2 to 4 for, yeah.
And it's shorter. Dune Imperium is
not
longer.
much. When we played it, it was freaking long as hell.
It would still win that point. It would still win that point.
No, Caverna is
likelihood to get to the table, I would say.
I would never play Caverna at 7.
Oh.
No.
Oh, 7.
No.
7.
No, I would...
Lawyered.
When we played it at 4, it was long. 7 would be ridiculous.
Lawyered. It would be ridiculous, but it can do it. And that's something that Dune Imperium can't say.
I would not want to play Dune Imperium at 7. I think it could go up to 5 with one of the expansions, if I remember correctly, but I would not play that at 5.
No, I wouldn't play it at 5 either. But you know what? The fact that it gives you the option to play the 7 for Caverna, lawyered, it beats on that point. Just because of that one point. Now, likelihood to get the table, that's Dune Imperium. Because, let's be real, nobody's going to look at that cover of Caverna and go, wow, that's beautiful.
Game immersion is Dune Imperium. There is just no way.
The expansions, though, there's a lot of Caverna expansions. We would have to look into it, but I think there's a lot more for Caverna. But I'll look while you make your debate. But I think Caverna
2 to 4 and 6. So yeah, you can get up to 6 players with the expansion. I would never do it.
But again, that's only a 4 basis round.
Art production
2, 3, 4,
much
and
better
6.
in
That's 4.
yeah, you have cubes. That's fine, but the artwork is much better in Dune Imperium. In fact,
but
they got
meeples though.
That's not neither here nor there.
It gets a point for arts and...
It beats the component part, but it doesn't get the art, and the graphic design is much easier to read in Dune Imperium. I know everything that I need to do.
Way.
Oh, yeah, it does. I know which one is spice. I know which one is water.
Most of it's color-coded.
But you know which one is which. I know which one is spice, and I know which one is...
It hurts my eyes, man.
Caverna is just as bad.
No, there's nothing that's color-reliant on that. There's not. What is color-reliant on it?
If you're in love with mold, Caverna is for you.
For your Bard, I like you. You're good.
So for me, art production is Dune Imperium. The meaningful choice, that you impact more players in Dune Imperium.
Yes.
The depth of strategy, tactics, and skills.
Yes.
Again, I agree with you that Caverna has that but there's times I'm not worrying about what you guys are doing. So how am I impacting your strategy? Because I'm playing in the cave and you guys are doing your own
I've
thing.
agreed with you that. I think meaningful choice goes to...
Though I will agree with you that there is arbitrary choices in Dune Imperium.
Yes.
So I give that to Caverna because of basically what you end up drawing.
Yep.
I'll give you that aspect. My meaningful choice is Dune Imperium. Ease of play, I give Caverna because,
Yep.
Length of time and scaling well, I think, honestly, they both play about the same time frame. Dune Imperium may be a little bit longer, but Caverna, I remember us playing it, and look, unfortunately, we weren't tracking our plays that time, and they didn't have a clock in the BG stats when we started tracking, but I could tell you Caverna was a long time when we played it. It was roughly 2 hours.
Shorter.
wasn't that much shorter. It was 2 hours for us to play Dune Imperium.
It might have felt shorter, but it was not. It was shorter, or it might not have felt shorter.
And then the expansions, I think there is 2 plus a whole standalone. Plus, you can also get the upgraded components, which makes the game look a lot better. I personally think Dune Imperium goes on. You think the Caverna? You want to go to the thing?
I'm looking at the expansions. It looks like Dune Imperium does have more expansion, so we'll get that part.
All right, so I have it 3-2, or 4-1 actually.
All right, let's see which one we disagree on. Game immersion, that's Dune Imperium, right?
Yes.
Okay. Art and production.
I say that's Dune Imperium.
And I say it's Caverna. Okay, so meaningful choice.
Dune Imperium.
And ease of play and replay value are both.
I say replay value is Dune Imperium, and ease of play I think is Caverna.
I think Caverna is easily replay value.
So we're so the two were
we're split.
We're split. All right, go to the poll. I'll refresh
Dune
it.
Imperium is just making us look at the fan vote, isn't it?
Yeah. All right, so we have a change on the board. So let's see what it is, and we're looking for Caverna and no
votes, bro.
Wow.
Gotta be Dune. Yeah. Although I disagree with that.
Not
the people have spoken.
Single vote.
Yep. Out of how many votes? How many votes were there?
There was like 300 and something.
Yeah,
237, I think was the last I saw.
Let's see here.
404.
Yeah. 404 votes and not a single one for Caverna.
Bruh. Wait, hold on. I got to check something real quick. Is it on here? Yep, there it is. Agricola had more votes than Caverna.
It had nearly 12 votes more. Dan Imperium uncarding. Yes. No kidding.
That is funny.
Cult of the New. That's right, Borgin Bard. All right, so
no. But here's the thing. It is not the Cult of the New. Because Agricola is an older game and had more votes than Caverna.
Oh, goodness. I don't disagree. Our next round is Lost Ruins of Arnak versus Everdell. Here we go.
So this one's me, and I get Everdell. All right, so Everdell is going to have a hard time with this one.
Will. Yes, it will.
Because I like Everdell, don't get me wrong. But Lost Ruins of Arnak is such a good game. So it's going to be funny, because I honestly think I know what the final is going to be, because it's going to be hard for me to argue Everdell against what Lost Ruins of Arnak does.
Now, real quickly, just to misquote Masmo, I agree. Compared to Everdell, Agricola is so much better. You carry on.
Game immersion. Both games are fun to lose. Both have somewhat of player interactions. Both have really good, memorable moments.
Yep.
So I think right there is for me is a wash, because they both do that really well. When it comes to art and production, Everdell is going to throw Lost Ruins of Arnak out the thing. They have both really fantastic art, but I'll take Andrew Bosley's art against anybody. The component quality is slightly better in Everdell, except for that damn tree.
Oh, man.
That tree is the only issue.
I would say the pieces are so on point, but the tree brings it back.
But you have the Anna meeples that you like to bring up in Caverna.
It's true.
So
now, if Dune Imperium had Anna meeples, let me just tell you. Yeah. Then there's no reason.
But you have that Anna meeples. You have some fantastic art from the cards to that striking cover of the original series to the replay value. I think is much better in Everdell. Though I don't think it's actually going to play quicker than I think that's the thing about Everdell. It can overstay its welcome.
Yep.
That is the big problem with it, and the tree. That's the other big problem with it.
That's a big problem.
And then the impact on other players' strategy, this is where Everdell's going to have a problem, because you're not really messing with other players unless you take a card they want. And guess what? There might be another card like that comes up. So, or you might not see it any of the other cards because that deck just doesn't go cycle as much as you would like it to do.
Yes.
The depth of strategy, tactics, or skills, I think meaningful choice is going to be Lost Ruins of Arnak. So, like I said, it's hard for me to get Everdell. When it comes to ease of play, though, I think the simplicity and familiarity of the mechanism, I think, goes to Everdell, but also the likelihood to get to the table. It's like, oh, yeah, we're exploring, or, you're building your own little civilization. You got these little cutesy animals. Cutesy animals are going to win no matter what. I could probably get my wife to play cutesy animals over exploration games any day of the week. And Is it easy to learn, understand, and teach? Both of these are a bit of a bear, because one's tableau building meets worker placement, and the other one is deck building meets worker placement, so it's kind of here nor there. And then, of course, the replay value. You have a lot more expansions. It's going to be length of time and scaling well. It's going to be slightly better in Lost Ruins of Arnak. The minimum number of plays for the full experience. Nothing really changes in Lost Ruins of Arnak unless you get the expansions. If you play just base Lost Ruins, it's going to be pretty much the same game every time you play it. Everdell is going to change just because of how many freaking cards are in that game. But other than that, go ahead and tell us about Lost Ruins.
Cute animals are food, not friends. That's the quote of the night. I love that. So Lost Ruins, I agree. That says it right there. Lost Ruins moves on. No. Lost Ruins, I mean, again, the pieces and components are just fantastic. CGE really knows what they're doing. I would say arguably the pieces are just as nice. I really do believe that. And I stand by that. Like I think, yeah, the Everdell art, arbitrarily, I do like it better,
Like I said, but Andrew Bosley against anybody is up there.
But the art on Lost Ruins of Arnak, like, technically it's a really boring theme. You're an archaeologist, right? But it brings out that aura of, we're Indiana Jones.
Those Guardians are really cool, though.
They are fantastic.
You just don't see them all the time, because if you're playing base to base, you're basically playing on the track. You're not really exploring.
Yeah, the art should be terrible in Lost Ruins to match the theme, but it doesn't. It's fantastic looking. Mm-hmm. It's really a pretty game. So, one that I like the art just as well. So, game immersion, our first criteria. I hark back to, I'm an elementary teacher. You guys already know that. Most of my listeners know that. I hark back to when I think of Everdell, I think of like if you give a mouse a cookie, or like, the old Leo Colavini books, like the mouse, like the
Leo Colavini,
books.
Isn't that a board game designer?
No, Leo.
I was like, wait.
That is. No, it might be Leo Leone. That's who it is. Yeah, but you have like the little mouse, like.
He's having brain farts left and right today because of the chat.
It is. But
yes, Redwall.
Yeah, and so like you have all that really cute art that really brings back. But I feel in my mind, and this is a big knock for that, is I feel like that art is very disingenuous. Mm-hmm. It lures you in with very cute art, and it's lovely art. I very much agree that it's fantastic art. But you get somebody who's like, okay, well, like, it's cute furry little animals. How hard can the game be? And then they're thrown off by it.
My issue with it, and I agree with you when it comes to that aspect, but that is not a detractor to the game. It's got fantastic art. Is that people look at it, see cutesy animals, and think it's a kid's game.
Right.
That is the issue. But again, that's not really where you can knock it. It's basically like nice art.
Like the table.
Yeah, that's a different story.
Right. Now, and again, but anybody who likes Indiana Jones might like Lost Ruins of Arnak as far as the theming and the style goes too. So, game immersion, I do think Everdell feels more thematic because of how the characters work off of like the woodland style and how they build off of each other. I don't feel like
in base to base, like I said, our Lost Ruins of Arnak's not very thematic until you get the expansion.
Neither have memorable moments, and it's more so. It's less about is the game fun to lose, and more about like which one stays longer. And the problem is with Everdell, if you never see the cards that pair up with your engine, then you're a sitting duck for a long time, and that's why I feel like Lost Ruins feels better to lose. Then that could be taken either way. I get why.
This is also the guy that banned Architects of the West Kingdom.
Correct. So. Art and production, again, that could be a wash. Meaningful choice, though. That's tough.
It is tough. Like I said, that for me, this is where I think Everdell wins it, just because when we're going base to base, you have a lot more choices, whereas if I want to explore, I'm going to be hampered if I'm not playing on that track.
Right.
And that's the thing, is like you have to play on the track on the base. And that was the big thing everybody has argued about.
Yeah.
The track is the best way to win the game.
Yeah.
And that's why the expansion makes it much better in my experience. And we talked about it in the original Top 8 debate when we talked about Champions of Midgard. Valhalla makes the game better and more of that feel that you need. And I think it's the Leaders expansion, I think is what it's called, or something like that, along that lines, makes this game feel so much better, and that's why it jumped Dune Imperium when it came to my top 100, because it gives you a much better experience, because it needed that asymmetrical feel, and it also made the experience of exploring better based on the certain leader that you got.
Yep, I agree. So the bad part about Lost Ruins of Arnak is the other half of the game outside of the worker placement is the deck building. And the last round or two, anything you buy as far as cards that go into your deck, you're probably not going to see. Mm-hmm. And that is a detractor. Now, they are worth points, right?
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah, so there's that. You're buying points, and that's not a terrible thing. But still, over 6 rounds or 5 or 6 rounds, that's not much to go through a deck builder.
It's 6 or 8, I think.
Yeah, it's
really quick.
It's not 8 for sure. I wouldn't play it if it was 8. But it's like 5 or 6.
Yeah, it's really
quick. But either way, it's quick. But deck building in that short of a time frame.
Oh, we didn't mention the fact that you have 2 different areas too.
Yeah.
You have the cards that you buy, and then you have the cards that you can use rewards for. That gives you like special powers and stuff like that.
Right. Which those are cool.
Those are really neat.
The fact that you can still buy stuff to add to your deck, round 4 or 5 and 6 is not going to be useful.
Yeah.
So with that being said, ease of play, I do think Lost Ruins is easier.
Yes.
I do think meaningful choice is probably Everdell, honestly.
Okay.
I think art and production, personally, I think is Lost Ruins.
Okay.
Because there's no part of Lost Ruins of Arnak that I feel like that's a detractor to the arts and components, and the iconography is incredible. Game immersion, I feel, is Everdell, and replay value, I think that's Everdell.
Let me look here.
Has more expansions.
Like the time and scaling, Lost Ruins plays a little bit quicker, but not much. 1 to 4 for both, I believe. Yeah. 1 to 4 because you have the campaign now with one of the expansions for solo. Minimum number of plays for the full experience. Yeah, I think that's Everdell because Everdell. Holy.
Everdell moves on.
All right. And that's why we take our bias out, because I thought it was going to be Lost Ruins of Arnak.
Oh, I'd much rather play Lost Ruins.
Yeah.
Over
I love
Everdell.
I love Everdell.
I know. Yeah, Masmo. I agree.
I agree. We agree, but the G.A.M.E.R criteria has spoken.
Yep.
All right. With that being said, Caverna had 0% of the vote when it got eliminated. And Lost Ruins of Arnak was 8% of the vote, and I think it was our second highest we put, and it was, yes.
Yep.
All right. So the big thing about going into our final, we don't pull from the Cup of Doom. We don't flip the coin of doom. We just go G.A.M.E.R criteria and decide who wins that outright, because there's no point in making an argument. We've talked about this for a long enough time. So let's go into this.
Yep, so anybody who's still with us on chat, feel free to use any of those criteria and explain which one you think is a clear winner for any of those criteria. Do you think between Dune Imperium and Everdell, which one has the best game immersion? Which one has the best art and production, best meaningful choice, best ease of play, best replay value? We want to hear your thoughts too. Daniel, is there any clear ones for you?
Wow, I'm looking at this.
I have a clear one.
Because I was thinking replay value for Everdell, just because how many expansions that they have, but Dune Imperium has quite a good amount. Sure. Length of time and scaling well, I think Everdell plays a little bit quicker, not much. And the minimum number of plays for the full experience, both of them have big decks, so you're not going to see everything, especially when you get into the expansion stuff, too. So it's like...
Do you want to hear the one that I think, honestly, is like the obvious
easiest
one? Despite the tree, art and production is Everdell.
Yeah, I can't argue on that one.
Dune Imperium is ugly in comparison.
Yeah, I don't disagree, because you got the Everdell, you have some really fantastic components where it's cubes in the other game. Mustard for yellow. That was my issue. I play yellow, and it's mustard.
Yeah, not great. Not pretty.
And so my thing is, like, when it comes to, like, ease of play, the simplicity and familiarity of the mechanism, and neither one of these are basically easy to learn, understand, or teach, because one's tableau building. The other one, if you have a basic understanding of deck building and worker placement, you think you might have a better chance with Dune Imperium, because how do you describe the tableau building? Oh, this works with that. So you got to make sure you read your cards properly.
Yeah, but if you can read, it's fine. It explains how it works. So it's
then you're looking for that thing and it's not showing up either.
Right, but that doesn't change whether it's easier to understand.
Yeah.
Right. It very clearly references the other item.
Here's my argument where I think it's going to be Dune Imperium when it comes to ease of play, when it comes to the learn, understand, and teach. Trying to explain to people that I could be in summer while they're still in spring. That the things happen
Yeah.
Where I could be so far ahead of where everybody's at before they're done with their turn, and it just doesn't make sense because everybody wants to be on the same round. I have run into that a couple of times already.
Well, that is a hiccup. Effectively, you're not doing anything different.
I know, but
all you're doing is just
try explaining that to people. I dare you to take Everdell to the shop and explain that to people.
I don't disagree. My only counter for that is really, and it's not something to compare. Is what a lot of our listeners agree with is the fact that, there's so many things that are so contingent in Dune Imperium.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in order to get out the right people to battle, in order to get the right resources, like, you have to have literally the right kind of cards in order to just take actions, in order to have a chance at the actions. So even if I don't want to go into Warfare and I'd rather do something else, if I have Warfare cards, I'm doing that.
Okay, so you're saying
I think ease of play is Everdell because you don't really have those, like, other than the worker placement blocking spot, which you also have in Dune Imperium, you don't have that in Everdell. There's nothing that says, I can't do this because I didn't draw the right cards.
No, I'll give you that.
That's just me. But I agree, that is I forgot about that funky round thing that Everdell does.
And trying to teach that is where people are like, okay, wait, so I'm in summer, but they're still in spring, so I have this extra worker, and it just,
As Maslow said, you have that extra layer.
You do, and it's just, it's one of those things that I always have a hard time teaching, that aspect of it. And that is my big detractor of Everdell and trying to get it to the table.
Yeah, and also, I mean, again, cute, cuddly animals, that tree is attractive. Dune Imperium, you have everybody who likes the IP, so there's that, too, right? It could be... I think it just boils down to easier to understand, learn, or teach. Yeah. Until you get into the bulk of the cards, it is easy to understand.
Yeah, no, I get that. Okay. Right. Meaningful choice. Impacting other players is Dune Imperium.
Yeah.
Everdell, you're other than blocking a spot and racing to like a certain goal, you're not really messing with other players all that much. Depth of strategy, tactics, or skills. That's kind of a push on that aspect. Because you have different strategies, and you're having a combat in Doom. Yeah. Bard is becoming bald if Everdell wins. And do arbitrary choices and AP make an impact on the game? And neither one has really that bad of arbitrary choices. Or, okay, I will say this. Everdell does have arbitrary choices when you think about it. If you're looking for a certain card and it's never coming up, you have a card in your tableau that's not going to affect you.
Yep.
So that for me, I think meaningful choice goes to Dune Imperium.
But again, there's so many contingents on like what you draw, like spells out what you're doing. I'll give it credit. There's there's more arbitrary choices, but there's less AP because it's like, all right, let me just see the only things I can do with this hand of cards. It's like, well, I can do this and I can do that because I can't really do these.
And you're doing more impactful things to other players. That's why I think Dune Imperium wins meaningful choice.
I think that's where it really breaks down, is that Dune Imperium gets the impact on other players just because you have that area control of the battle system. I'll give it that. Cool.
We're not discounting the deck building aspect of it, but we're talking about worker placement too. And he hates the game, so he hates both of these games, so he doesn't really matter.
I don't hate the games.
Replay value. Make the time and scaling well. I think Everdell slightly plays shorter than Dune Imperium. Not by much if you're playing a 4-player game, let me tell you that.
No, they're probably the same.
Yeah, they're roughly the same length.
They're both...
Some person might be done before everybody else and has to sit there and wait. That's the issue.
Which is awful.
Yes.
That's never a
That is my issue with that. So I think Dune Imperium wins that because everybody's still active in the game. Minimum number of plays for the full experience. Both of them have a bunch of cards, so I think that right there is a wash because
Could be.
Yeah, and then expandability. Everdell has 4. Dune Imperium has 3 or 4, something like that. So
we can take it to the vote. Or we can take it to check the reference here in a bit.
Yeah, and then Board Game Bard is really pushing for Dune Imperium here. He's really not liking you.
I don't disagree with what you're saying. Yeah, you're at the mercy of the cards you draw, then exile the cards you get. Yeah, but then that's wasted turns. That if he doesn't have to exile, then that's a turn that I don't get to play.
So, which do you think is replay value? Which do you think gets it? I think it's Dune Imperium personally because...
I think honestly it's a wash.
You think it's a wash? But for me, I think it's because the other two are a wash, the minimum number of plays and the expandability. It's the length of time and scaling well because I am going to detract Everdell because one person could be done and still waiting their 30 minutes before everybody else is finished. And so it makes the game longer for them where they're doing Imperium.
Fair enough.
So it comes down to game immersion.
Game immersion.
Is the game fun to lose?
Okay, that's a fair point. Board Game Bard. Not wasted. The exiled card happens in tandem with the other actions.
Yeah, so you have that card in your hand from the beginning, if I remember correctly.
All right.
Both games are fun to lose in my experience. I like it.
Neither are fun to lose in my experience. Both of them outstay their welcome very much.
Yeah. There is more
that's a wash.
For me, there's more player interaction in Dune Imperium.
Yes.
Because you're forced to interact with other players. You have that combat.
Yep.
And I have more memorable moments in Dune Imperium if you win that combat and you have that reward. Or if you're, oh God, I'm so close to getting that 10th point.
Yeah.
I got to get up in this council and stuff like that. I have those memorable moments, but that's me personally. I know you're out of there.
No, so we like to focus on, when we mean memorable moments, we mean positive memorable moments.
Yeah.
But you've been a crotchety old man before, and you've brought up negative memorable moments of how it impacts. The fact that they made a big box and the tree don't fit is a memorable moment for me. And I hate it. I hate it.
So you're saying Dune Imperium?
Yeah, I think Dune Imperium gets game immersion.
All right, 3-2. Dune Imperium is our worker placement champion. Redux. The fact that we're arguing so well for Everdell, I'm very proud of you.
Thanks. I've grown. We've grown a lot this past few years. Didn't see it coming. I know, it looked like it was leaning towards Everdell. And honestly, that was kind of like coming out of nowhere, wasn't it? You know?
It is surprising to me because he's not a big fan of Everdell, but because, and this is the importance for our criteria. Yep. When we originally did this podcast, we didn't have the criteria. We didn't have the rule where we had to play all the games that we were debating. Mm-hmm. And now we have our criteria. We have the Cup of Doom. We have the Coin of Doom. It allows us to have more of a succinct debate where we have to break this down. And it changes people's mind. It changes my mind all the time. It changes his mind all the time. And then there are times we're ready for a fist fight. So it makes it more entertaining for people. I've threatened with him with that lightsaber how many times now?
Ready to go.
But with that being said, thank you all for joining us in this rehashing of the worker placement aspect of things. We need to close this out because it is a long episode.
Yep, Board Game Bard will be happy to clarify that after the episode. Sure. With that being said, we hope you've enjoyed today's episode. It has been a long episode, but we do have an email. So if you ever want to contact us directly, you sure can. Email us at everydayboardgames2020@gmail.com. Whether that's to enter in future contests, just say hello, or give us ideas for future episodes, or tell Daniel why he's wrong, then you can do so. We also have an Instagram, instagram.com/everydayboardgames, where we post some of the games that we've been playing and some ridiculous shenanigans that I tend to post.
And I'm never wrong. You're the one that got threatened to lose your Dan card. All video uploads and reviews are found under YouTube at youtube.com/@everydayboardgames. And if you like what we do, there are 3 things you can do to help us grow on the platform. Subscribe if you're not, like the video, and comment down below and tell us your thoughts on the subject.
We also really enjoy streaming these live with our friends Board Game Bard, Masmo, Illuminous, and Colt Cardboard today joining us on the chat. And anybody else who came and watched us on our episode today, we stream these live at twitch.tv/everydayboardgames. Come join us, hang out, and join in on the episode.
Because he gets easily distracted, it makes it a much funnier episode. And all audio versions can be found on most podcast platforms under Everyday Board Games Podcast, including Spotify, Amazon Music, Podbean, and Apple.
So we want to thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I've been your host, Daniel.
And I've been your host, Daniel.
And we want to thank you for listening to Everyday Board Games.
And remember, every day is a good day for board gaming.